right, you guys ready? All right, turn your mics on. We're on camera. Letty, you ready? All right, we're going to call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. For anyone in the crowd that I don't know, I'm Jen Jones. I'm the chair of the Select Board, and we have one Select Board member who is going to be late tonight. I think he's going to call in by phone when he's en route, but we have a quorum here, and we get to start tonight with one of our favorite things to do at the Select Board, which is swearing in a new police officer. And we have Ashley Wood, who is being sworn in tonight. And I think, do we have Daphne here? Yeah, she's coming. Daphne's coming. Hopefully she's got the form in her little hand. I hope so. Justin, do you want to say a few words? Just if you want to be caught on a microphone, you need to go near one of our microphones here.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. We're super fortunate because Ashley comes to us as a certified officer. So even despite times right now, we're still doing something right where we're attracting certified cops to come work here. She does come from a law enforcement family. Her father did retire from Brentwood PD, so I'm kind of living that family legacy here. But we're excited for her to get going and get her through field training, and you guys will be seeing her out there starting in a couple days.
Awesome. Okay. You ready? Do you have the form? Does anybody have the form? Okay, Daphne's going to get the form. Our town administrator's out on leave, so sometimes it's like a whodunit thing around here. We're just going to get the form. Maybe while we're waiting for that form, we will just quickly review and sign our payroll and accounts payable, because that can just take a minute to do while we're waiting. So in general, I just announced the most current payroll in AP for the period ending 10/26/24. We have payroll in the amount of $38,024.88. We have accounts payable in the amount of $99,934.52. We have no school or retirement payments this month. So we'll send this around for signatures. I think she's the last one to sign those.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. You're just double checking. Great. All right, while we're waiting for Daphne, we can review and approve the consent agenda. I think it went around. Did everybody see it? Yes, I'll take a motion for the consent agenda.
Moved. Second.
Any discussion? In tonight's consent agenda are public minutes from last week, 10/22, non-public minutes from last week, 10/22, which are sealed, the rec manifest, the treasurer's report, and building permits. That's our standard consent agenda. We have a motion and a second on the table to approve. All in favor? Aye. And I'm an aye. So we will pass the consent agenda.
15 seconds.
Yes. Do you want to be a delayed aye? Okay. I'll give you a second. Aha, Daphne to the rescue. All right. So as soon as Paul's done with that, we'll take a motion for Ashley.
Yeah. Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we have in front of us an appointment slip for Ashley Wood to become a full-time Brentwood police officer on the 29th of October, 2024. I'll take a motion to that effect.
Moved. Second.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I'm an aye. So we will move forward and turn this over to our town clerk.
You gotta sign it.
Yes, that would be a good idea. Thank you. Let's do that. And generally, we swear our officer in. We have family members put the badge on the officer, and then we usually do some group photos. So everybody, family, friends, colleagues, stick around for photos afterwards. All right, come on up. Oh, you have a job. Ooh, we got it. Oh. Nice. Good work. Might be the youngest one we've had putting a badge on in a while. I like it. It's great. All right. Want to take a couple photos? Yeah. Bring all the PD up for a photo. Do you want to like move that table?
Maybe go the other way, Jen, instead of moving the table. Maybe go the other way instead of moving the table.
All right, Jillian, you're gonna do the honors. Good. All right.
No? Oh, I thought you said no. I'm like,
Yeah.
This is awkward. Yeah.
Family photo. Awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody. One more photo.
Thank you, Ashley. Yeah,
She's gonna do
congratulations.
one more photo op, I think. All right. Welcome, Ashley. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you. Have a nice evening. All right. Give everybody a second to clear out. Bye, buddy. Thank you, everyone. See ya. Bye-bye. All right. We will now move on to public comment. We'll open public comment at 6:10. As usual, we just remind folks if they want to talk to come up to the microphone. All right, anybody who is interested in public comments? All right, Doug, come on up. Just flick the microphone on and put it down towards your face.
Good evening. I would have mentioned this last week, but it was busy. I just want to thank the board for sending the Highway Department and 2 planning board members to the Green Snow Pro program. Again, I cannot say that 3 times fast. And it was very informative, just an overview. The instructor will be coming down to go over the new truck with us and give us some guidelines and hints. how to maximize our distribution of salt in the town with a combination of chemical that will go, I don't mean the word chemical. There is an additive that you can add to this salt to extend the use of the salt within the town. And that's an ongoing process. That will not happen overnight. But it was very informative. I appreciate the board considering sending us, and I just want to say thank you.
Great, thanks. Anyone else interested in public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment at 6:11. And then we will move on to discussion action items. I don't know if Daphne, you want to grab Daph? I'm not sure if she's going to leave after this. We have Daphne on here for discussion of a software upgrade. She actually, I think, is going to bump that topic to next week because she's getting some actual numbers from the company. 2 weeks? Oh, because we have the election. There is the small election next week. I keep forgetting. So 2 weeks we will bump Daphne, but instead she would like to speak to the board about moving forward with getting a new voting machine. So she asked to just do that topic tonight instead. So we'll have her, when she's ready, come talk to us about that. I'm assuming she's still down the hall. Hi, welcome back. And thank you for doing that form for us.
No problem. I had to remember what I was
All
here
right.
for. Okay.
So we're bumping the software discussion for 2 weeks, but we're going to discuss voting machine tonight.
Right. So the Voting Works voting machine, they did send me the contract. The machine itself is $7,500. There is a $500 charge for every election, which is normal for what we have now. The state is giving, there's a grant for $3,500, so I would only end up using $4,000 of the ARPA instead of the $10,000 that I'd asked for. If you are agreeable to this, I just need you to sign this so I can get it up to the Secretary of State's office to let them know this is what we would like to do, and we would be using it for the March election.
Okay. Can you talk to the board about why you think this machine is the best one for us to approve?
It is very fast. You don't have to buy ink for it. You don't have to buy paper for it. It is, well, I shouldn't say you don't have to buy paper, but we don't have to buy it through them. It's much less expensive that way. It's very quick. A tablet comes with it where you can actually, for write-ins, you can actually go right in and mark them in this tablet. It's really a very advanced system. It's very fast, so I think it would help us at the end of the night get out of there much quicker. We did have a good group that came to look at the machine, and I think everyone was pretty impressed with it. Paul was there, and it definitely, in my opinion, is the superior machine.
Okay.
So I don't know how you guys.
And the other company, I think, was a little bit sort of behind in terms of like demos and things like that, right?
They are, and in their defense, they are also our current voting machine folks, so they are busy in the elections right now, which
Gotcha.
I totally understand.
Gotcha.
But this machine is really fantastic.
Okay. Do you anticipate any drawbacks, problems, or downsides with going with this machine?
No, there are probably 5 or 6. How many towns did they say, Paul? Do you remember? There were quite a few towns that used it for this past election
5.
and
Doug
had
said.
like 0 issues. And they will come out with us and stay with us and make sure everything is fine.
Great. Okay. Board questions, comments? Paul, do you have anything to add to that discussion,
No,
since
I
I know you were at the testing?
Yeah, Doug said 5 towns, but I think there was someone from one of the towns there, right? Who, really was, or a couple of people who would, both were very,
And I do know a few towns that have used it, one in Boscawen, and she's been the town clerk for a long time. She was floored by it.
Oh, great.
So, yeah.
and I can't see how it won't make your job so much easier at the end of the night.
Yes,
So,
that's the goal.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it looked really good. I mean, it had all the bells and whistles. The grant, how does that work?
So what ends up happening is we will send this letter up to the state. They will pay Voting Works directly,
Oh.
the $3,500. And then we just would have to
Pay the balance?
pay the balance.
So
That's
the
it.
invoice us just.
So it's not even really like an official grant application, it's just kind of an automatic rebate?
I guess the state of New Hampshire is using the HAVA funds that they have. So they're giving those, we don't use poll books. So it was either you would get the grant for the poll book or for the machine.
Okay.
And the machine is probably about 40 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Like the whole setup is within within like a couple of minutes, you have it all set up, it's ready to go. You cannot put additional ballots in, there's no way to do that. You can program it yourself instead of paying someone to do that for you. So there's all these kind of cool things. I mean, these machines that we've had they're old.
Sure,
Oh, yeah.
They're very old,
sure.
so,
Okay.
I think
So-
it held up to like 4,500
yeah.
or so ballots.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. So we wouldn't necessarily have to do the emptying that we have
Right.
to do now.
right.
Okay,
It's pretty cool.
awesome.
So here is the form if you would like to.
Okay.
I've attached the
Yep, if you
um,
send it over this direction.
the
Should I make a
contract to
motion, or-
it.
If you would like to, that would be great.
I'd like to make a motion to sign this letter.
That's the thing, or-
Well,
Is it signed by all of us or just?
Yep.
Okay. So we have a motion to sign the letter to ask the state to help us purchase the Voting Works machine with the grant. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So if we can just pass that around and sign. So we will use this, you said March would be the first time we would use this.
Yes, and what I will do is I have to take the minutes
I
from
was
tonight's
borrowing.
meeting
okay.
and send up with you.
Okay, okay, perfect,
to show it.
perfect.
So I'll grab that from you.
Great.
That's it.
Can I ask a question really quickly? I know you're not gonna present us with numbers, but do you have a sense of a timeline for the new, your new software update?
For Avatar, it would be my goal to do it the very first of the year.
Great.
Try to get it swapped over. We do still need to talk to the assessing group to find out, or for our assessor to find out what his idea of timeline for the tax part of it would be, depending, because I know we're in a reevaluation year.
Yep.
So I think what we had discussed before was April 1st, but it doesn't mean it has to be that. I would be more comfortable talking to Jim about it.
Okay.
But then Patty from Avatar is supposed to be sending me all of the numbers for 2025 by the end of the week.
Okay.
And can you update on January 1st, even if the assessing department isn't sure?
Yeah, well, I can swap over my town clerk part of it for motor vehicles. And I can still absolutely go into it for tax, but I think that you all might want to review the assessing part of it, and they will do demonstrations
Correct.
for you.
Okay,
So that you
great.
have an idea for that.
Do you want this now?
Sure, if you're done with it.
Thank
Is that
you.
it? Yeah.
Thank you.
Was that it for paperwork? It was just that invoice? That's it?
All right, thanks, staff. All right, next on the agenda, we have health insurance, and I will have Letty speak to this because she has been working with Health Trust and has been very helpful with
So
this
I
topic.
gave everyone a printout of what the new rates are. The GMR, or like the estimated maximum it could be, looks like 8% overall. The two different plans had slightly different increases, but they average out to 8%. I will have the insurance budget figured out when that one's presented, but not right now.
So obviously, we're very happy to hear about an 8% increase since last year was, I believe, 15.6 or something, basically almost double that amount. So this is good news. We were all kind of holding our breath, I think, for this number to come out. And so Letty, what you're looking for the board tonight is an acceptance. What specifically do you need from us tonight?
Yes, so the board needs to accept these rates
Okay.
and then decide or give somebody else the authority to decide, I don't really know, when open enrollment will be.
Okay, Because usually open enrollment is in December or concludes by
Sure.
December.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there, these plans that are listed here are identical to what we offer now, right?
This is exactly what
Okay.
we offer now for all.
Because we had discussed, you
Yep.
know, with our town administrator being out, that we didn't want to really change anything.
Yep.
And just keep it the same for coverage purposes.
Mhm.
Okay. So do we need to officially communicate to Health Trust that we accept these rates?
Yes.
Yes. Is there a form that we have to sign,
Probably.
potentially?
Mhm.
Okay, we'll figure that out.
But that's where I feel like if the board as a whole decides to accept these numbers,
Yep.
then you could sign
Yep.
on behalf of us.
Okay. All right.
Whenever I figure out what that form is.
Yep. Questions, comments from the board?
So can you just explain the two different options and what that means? Because one is, you know, at one rate, and then the other option is at other, you know, rates.
Yeah. Hold on, I can,
So I just want to understand if we're accepting this, are we accepting both?
I
or-
think this reflects the two different plans that we currently offer to our employees.
Yep.
So the top one and the bottom one there, and
Those are
then
what we
just the estimated rate increases that would happen this year if people stayed on the same ones that they've elected in the past.
Mhm.
Which during open enrollment is when they would tell us whether they are staying on the same plan, changing plans, dropping the plan, et cetera.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, without
So you
getting
can
too deep in the
see,
weeds. what
yeah,
the
if you look at the
difference-
enrollee
Hold on,
counts,
I'm trying
you'll
to-
see that we have, you know,
There's a
7
slide
single people,
somewhere.
blah, blah, blah. We have like all the numbers of employees that are on those different plans.
Pretty even.
It's relatively even, yeah, it kind of splits out based on a single plan, a two-person plan, and a family plan.
We had a folder out earlier that probably has the specific descriptions of the different plans. Jillian's going to.
And essentially, these plans are unchanged from year prior, right? in
Yes, the
terms of
coverage and stuff is
Yep.
all the same. It's just the price.
And the GMR that they quote us is the maximum possible, so sometimes it comes in under that because those rates fluctuate. But they quote you during your budget season what the maximum possible rate increase could be, so you can budget for that, so that you won't have risk of coming in over your budget.
So this is probably not up to date, but so that would be one of the plans.
Do you know what the high-level difference between the plans is? It's probably deductible, or there's usually subtle differences between the plans that people elect.
Looks like the second plan on the list here has a deductible of 1,000 per member, 3,000 per family. Out-of-pocket limit of 5,000 per member, 10,000 per family. And then the first plan on the list doesn't look like there's a deductible. It
That's
looks
probably
like
the difference,
there's,
yeah.
you know, some co-pays and,
So maybe deductible versus copays.
yeah.
And it looks like the split employees is like Andy said, it's like about half and half. Half are on plan one, half are on plan two, based on what works for them best. So I think what Letty's looking for is for the board to acknowledge and accept that 8% GMR, and then authorize myself or potentially Letty to sign any documentation with Health Trust that we need to sign to move forward. And then in terms of open enrollment, we can probably discuss that at our next meeting, as long as it's completed. I think in December, we should be good, right? Last year, I think it was due mid-December.
So it's, yeah, I think it's due by December 15th. And with the current staffing levels that we're working with, I think having a little extra time before we have to get those numbers in after open enrollment wouldn't be bad.
Do you feel that you are ready to suggest an open enrollment time now, or are there more factors that need to be considered before we decide that?
Oh, I think I guess my concern is our next meeting isn't for 2 weeks.
Correct. Although we can meet next week if we need to at the election.
Okay, so maybe we'll do that.
We could.
Okay, then we'll wait.
Okay. You feel like that would be better, or do you want to just do it now? It's up to you. I mean, you've been taking the lead on the health trust, so I'll leave it up to your advice, what you think is best.
I mean, I guess we could just do it now.
I think last time when we looked it up, the employees were given about 2 weeks to respond after the emails went out. So we certainly do have some time.
Maybe either you or I can reach out to Health Trust and see if they can come down and do like a employee group thing, and they can hand out packets of what the 2 plans are. They can.
Oh, I have all that, so that goes out as part of the email. I mean, if you think it would be helpful to have them come and do a presentation, then we can do that. I don't know if that's typically what happens or not.
I don't think so. I think last year there was just there's an email that goes out with like 6 different attachments. That's like, here's all your plans. Certainly, I think if the employees felt that they needed that support in the
Oh,
absence of the town
absolutely.
administrator being here, that might make sense.
Okay, I can reach out to the other Andy and see if that's something he'd be willing to do.
So maybe let's hold off until next week or the week after to actually decide the dates of open enrollment. Okay. Yeah, yeah, and we have the one from last year too. Yeah, thank you.
And if you have issues, let me know. I have a contact.
Okay. Okay, great. So are you looking for a motion, Letty, to accept the 8% GMR
To
and
move
allow
forward with this.
yourself or myself to sign whatever documentation is needed with Health Trust?
Moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. And I am very happy that this rate is half of last year's, because that was definitely sticker shock and painful last year. So we will update the board as we move forward on this topic. All right, next we have Fire Department to talk about a few different things. Seacoast Mutual Aid contract, the Lucas and Nitronox for ambulances, and succession planning for the Fire Department. So who's gonna come on up? We have a crew, we have a group. You guys one can sit at each place, or you can each take a microphone, however you want. Yep, just kind of put the microphone between you. All right, so first is Seacoast Mutual Aid contract.
This is a contract that has been worked out between the 2 military bases and the Seacoast Mutual Aid type thing. There are several different contracts over the years that have been signed. This one is taking a long time to come about, only because you gotta love the military. They wanted to come in and throw everybody out and run the scene, and some towns get a little upset about that. So if you drop a plane in my backyard, I want to at least be part of it. So that's kind of the direction it was headed. It's been through Primex. I'm sure it's been through Primex in at least a half a dozen towns. The Seacoast Chiefs has an attorney look at the thing, so it's pretty boilerplate type of thing. All I'm doing is looking for a blessing.
Yep. Paul, do you want to comment on that? I know you kind of took the lead on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like standard terms that you would expect from the government. I mean, Primex does indicate that because hazardous waste is involved,
Yeah.
potentially that would not be covered under, our insurance. So that would be something that we would have to assume if,
Yep, no, I got you.
something were to happen.
Do you know what the discussion was with other towns about that, Chief, in terms of Primex not covering hazardous waste?
That was a fine print thing somewhere in the bottom that it says, so I told the guy, I says, if they were covered in gasoline and they ran through the gasoline and burned the stuff, we'd cover it. But because it's a hazardous waste condition, you won't cover it. Which made no sense to me whatsoever, but they're still in the middle of negotiating that with the insurance company for the spill. I'm not exactly sure where it is. I know there again, we've been relying heavily, and the town of, city of Portsmouth has been pretty good about it, taking the lead on it with their attorney. The last I knew, the AG's office was in the middle of it, and the insurance board was in the middle of it. So I don't know exactly.
This was from that prior hazardous
From
waste
that
event.
prior,
Okay, okay. Do you feel that, Paul, do you feel, or Chief, do you feel that that fine print is problematic in terms of us moving forward with this contract? Did other towns feel that
I
way?
don't think so. I don't think there's been an issue with anybody else. I can double check that before I sign it. Big issue.
Okay,
We usually discuss it again, so, before it gets done.
right.
So you want to bring that back to us then? Is that-
Sure, I can let you know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think ultimately that, we're going to be able to negotiate that with the
With the federal government?
federal government.
Probably not.
Hey, it's
Right.
better, like I said, it's better than it was, because literally, they were gonna come in, if they found a plane or something in your backyard, they were gonna run it and you were gone. So, what they don't realize is that we're gonna need us, but they were gonna chase us down.
Okay.
But, as long as we understand
And
that,
I don't know how they made out years ago, because they had that sub that burned too. So I don't know how that all worked out. I can ask. I'll ask.
Okay.
I mean, the way, as long as we understand and our eyes are open,
Yeah.
that,
Yep.
that is a responsibility on
problem.
our end ultimately, so.
Any other board comments on the Seacoast Mutual Aid contract? So we'll have the chief come back to us after kind of checking in on that fine print issue, making sure that other towns do not have an issue with that, and that we feel, and I think it's already gone through Primex, right, for us? Yes, okay. Okay. So we will follow up on that as needed. And Joe, is that something that you would sign, or you need the select board to sign? Do you know?
As long as you authorize it, I could do it.
Okay, okay.
I think
So
it was
we'll
for
have-
the chief to sign
Okay,
and for us to
perfect.
authorize.
Okay, perfect. So we'll have you come back to us for that. All
Is there a
right.
time,
I don't know, the next East Coast Chiefs meeting is the first Thursday in November.
Okay,
We'll sit for that.
okay. So that's next week. Okay. All right. Next, we have a request for some new equipment out of, I believe, the ambulance fund. Okay, let us know what you've got here.
That one is hers.
All right.
So we are
Alyssa.
looking to purchase a couple of things. The first thing we're looking to purchase is a mechanical CPR device. And I gave two different types, two different quotes that I got. We do have a preference. I don't know, there's pictures in there, so they're slightly different in the way they work. One is like a cup that goes down on your chest, and another is like a band that goes around your whole chest. And we prefer the Lucas device, which is the cup, for a couple of reasons. A, it goes with our LifePak monitors. There's feedback that we can get from there. And B, the town next to us had an incident with the Zoll one around the chest where it exploded and almost hit somebody in the face. And so they immediately stopped using it and started using this. I don't know, like, factually
Right, that's
how often that
anecdotal.
happens,
But-
but I personally have seen, when I did some of my clinical time in the ICU, people that had come in post cardiac arrest, and depending on the device, like it seems like the Zoll one was more traumatic. They had bruising all around their chest. I think clinically they're both about the same as far as outcomes go. So
Alyssa, does the Zoll one not communicate with our monitors?
it
as
does
the-
not. 'Cause
Okay.
Zoll has their own monitor.
Okay, so that would be another reason to go towards Lucas.
Sure, yeah, yep. And in the striker quote, they didn't quote, I don't know if I made note on some of them, but the, under the equipment products, that's for one, the 23,000. So for two, it would be 46,346, and then the Pro Care, which is the, like the yearly maintenance, and if it broke or anything like that, it would be for both of them, and that would be for the first year it's under warranty, and then 6 years after that. So it'd be 7 years total that it would be covered. And the way the rep explained it to me was that if you purchase that when you purchase the products, it's a 15% discount for the service plan. And if you were to like purchase it after you bought them and like let that year go, by, that it would be more expensive.
Okay.
So the total would be 56,660 for the 2 devices and the ProCare.
And am I seeing that the actual device cost is basically almost exactly the same between the two companies? Right
Pretty
around
much,
46,000?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep, yeah. And I honestly, I don't think the Zoll includes the maintenance on it.
Okay,
He didn't give me that in the quote, so I'm not sure how much that would cost, but.
okay.
The Zoll was for one node, wasn't it? Or am I?
No, that one's for 2. The Zoll, they did.
If you just look
include
where she
2.
said times
Yeah.
2.
Times 2 on the
Yeah.
striker, yeah.
This is
Oh.
what, like,
Oh, it
the
doesn't say.
hospital uses, and another,
Assuming it's
like,
for 2.
particular reason we were looking for it is Exeter ALS carries these, and as we all know, they're, going to be ending soon. There are many reasons that this is an advantage to us. It lets us have less people on scene. The AHA guidelines, when you do CPR, is that you change the person doing compressions every 2 minutes. They call it like a pit crew approach, so you kind of have like a line of people ready to do that. And obviously there's, people get fatigued over those 2 minutes, and there's, you're not doing the correct depth or the correct amount of time. It's just after a while, I don't know how many people have done CPR. It's a
It's
lot.
exhausting, yes.
And so this machine does all of that for you. And so it takes that part of a code out of it, which makes it a lot easier to work a code. I've been at both different types of codes, and when you use this type of device, it's calmer. You can like focus on the airway, and you can focus on getting your meds drawn up. And it's easier, especially in the back of an ambulance or extricating somebody from a house. It creates less of a pause in compressions, which creates a better outcome for somebody. So
Great. I think what you were asking, Paul, is maybe on this Zoll quote, it's unclear whether that's for 1 or 2, but Alyssa, you're thinking that's for 2?
yes, let me just pull mine up here real quick.
But are you looking for 2, and why do you need 2 as opposed to 1?
I'm sorry, yeah, 1 for each ambulance. We have 2 ambulances that we rotate out, and, we kind of went back and forth with whether we should purchase 1 or 2, and we were like, with our luck, it'll be on the other ambulance, than the one you need, and yeah, you could probably try and rotate them back and forth, but like, if a second call came in, or it ends up being, easier to have 1 on each ambulance, if that makes sense.
I mean, how difficult is it to rotate between the?
Well, so I don't know if you have this too. There are pictures of it's like a little backpack, but there's batteries that go with it that have to be plugged in and charging.
So Paul, I don't think it's a matter of rotating, it's a matter we have 2 ambulances in service. So if ambulance 1, which is the main ambulance that day, is on a motor vehicle accident and doesn't need it, ambulance 2 goes to a cardiac arrest, now doesn't have it.
Right.
So each ambulance should mimic each other for equipment and
We've been trying to
supplies
do
that,
as close as possible. We're not swapping anything back and forth at this point.
and I've seen this work multiple times in the field, and it's amazing.
It is, it's a really
Yeah.
cool, it's an
Yeah.
amazing device.
My only question was
Yeah.
the ProCare, was the 10,000 before the 5%, or are we taking another 5%
No, so
off?
the price that he gave me on here it's actually a 15% discount, is with the 15% discount
For both devices?
for both devices. Yep,
And this would come out of the ambulance?
correct. the
Revolving
ambulance
fund.
Revolving fund, yep.
Do we know where that is?
Hmm?
Do we know where that stands?
It's a little over 500 right now, 500,000.
Okay, so there's plenty. If we can take a pause for 1 second and take a vote to allow John to participate remotely. He is calling in on his way here, and then we'll be here in person soon. So I'll take a motion to have John participate remotely temporarily.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So John, you're now participating remotely. Thank you. Yep. All right, we're just discussing, John, a ask from the fire department to get a Lucas machine, which is an automatic chest compression system, for each of the ambulances out of the ambulance fund. Any other board questions or comments on that for these folks?
What was the total again?
It would be $56,660.
I'll move 56,660 to be spent from the ambulance revolving account.
For the one that you wanted.
The Lucas.
Yes,
For the
yes.
two
Yes.
Lucas plus the ProCare.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Because we have a remote member, we'll do a roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
aye.
John? And I'm an aye, so we will move forward. All right, so that was Lucas. Did you also have a separate
Yes,
nitrous?
So I don't have a, an actual, like, quote from you, and that's because there is only one, vendor that makes the Nitronox field unit. So this we're looking to get, it's, you can use nitrous oxide, which is like the same gas they use at the dentist, you know? And you can use it for pain management out in the field. And this can be used by, I'm not sure, we have 3 different levels of providers. We have EMTs, advanced EMTs, and paramedics. And right now, like, the only thing that an advanced EMT can use for pain is ibuprofen or Tylenol.
I am aware.
If you have a paramedic, we do carry narcotics, but we don't always have a paramedic on. This can be used by an advanced EMT, and it's like patient administered. It's like a little mouthpiece that they put in. And in order to get the correct mix of nitrous oxide and oxygen, they have this, it's called a field unit. You can pass those around if you want. And it just like makes a 50-50 mixture of nitrous oxide and oxygen, and the patient puts a little mouthpiece in their mouth and they can use it on demand. It is used by quite a few departments in the area, and there are good results with it. I know they use it in like labor and delivery.
It's very, yeah, Exeter
Yeah.
Hospital uses it all the time on the L&D floor.
Yeah, yeah. So it's very safe. It's very easy to use. That unit itself, which like mixes the gases, is $3,750 a piece. And again, we would be looking to get one for each ambulance. And there is like a minimal charge we can get the actual nitrous oxide from air gas, who we use to get our oxygen from. And the way we get our O2 is like you pay monthly for a rental fee for the containers they come in, and then when they deliver them, it's a smaller charge, and it's the same idea with the Nitronox. They bring the nitrous oxide, and so you rent them monthly. It's like $56 a month, I think. And then every time you have it filled, they charge a delivery charge, which is like $5 or something.
And that would go into like your regular budget as opposed to this-
Correct. Yes, correct. That would go into like my supply budget. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so my crew has been asking me for this for a while.
I know Letty had asked for this.
Yes.
Like almost
she broke her
exactly
ankle.
a year ago.
When she broke her leg, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a great thing to have, especially like I said, with Exeter ALS going out of service and not having as many paramedics around. It gives us another option for pain relief when we can't get a medic there.
It's great. It's very safe and it's patient controlled. The patient can
Yes.
just take it
Yep.
off.
Right. Yep. So yeah, we're looking to get.
What
2
was
of
the
those.
quoted
And
amount?
like I said, there's no, like, I tried to get a quote from them,
Yep.
but they didn't give me one. There's only one vendor that has whatever the setup is for EMS use.
Yep.
And their, for the unit itself is $3,750 a piece.
Okay. And that's just like their standard
What would two of
list
those
price
Yes.
that they charge everybody?
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
And these have a shelf life for a long time, I'm assuming?
Yes, yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how long, but I mean, like, I know Epping Fire has had it for probably 5 years, like, and they make like bigger ones, like the ones you see in the dentist and stuff, and those are different prices, but obviously we need something for the ambulance.
That's
So this
smaller.
is portable, and it comes in a bag, so you don't have to like hook it up to your main oxygen. You can actually carry the bag somewhere and hook it up by the patient and then carry it back to the ambulance. It saves room and space and that kind of
Nice.
stuff. Yeah, so I don't know why other people haven't gone into making
Sure.
the mechanism to mix the gases together, but Nitronox is the only one they have right now,
Yep.
at
And sounds
here in
like
the United
your
States.
advanced EMTs and paramedics are all for this.
Yes, absolutely, yeah, yep.
Other questions?
Can I make a motion?
Yes, I think you should. I think that would be great for you
To
to.
allow them to spend $7,500 to buy 2 of these machines.
Okay, we have a motion for 7,500 out of the ambulance fund for 2 Nitronox units. We got a second from John, and we'll take a roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we will move forward, and thank you for bringing this. And I think this is great for people in Brentwood who might have pain control needs that can't be met without a paramedic there, so this is a good other option. Wonderful,
Absolutely.
thank you. All right, so those are the ambulance fund requests, and then we wanted to have a discussion,
Can I slide one in?
of
before
course,
they get
please do.
position? On the ALS lines, there is a meeting tomorrow with a group of the chiefs that are being affected the most by the phasing out of ALS.
Yep,
And I was approached, they would like to house a unit in our station, if that's possible.
what would that mean?
That would mean I'd have, if they're there, 2 paramedics, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Assuming they're there. They would be using one of the bunk rooms, the day room upstairs, basically a couple of showers and that type of stuff. It would mean me rearranging the bays a little bit because it would be a fly car type of thing. There may be a cost for a radio or a paging system for that, but they would pick that up to that 1 bedroom. So if I go to a crew at night, they're not being woken up by the 2 guys leaving.
And when you're talking about they, Chief, can you give us sort of like the big picture in terms of, I think I'm just getting feedback, sorry, in terms of who would be funding and running this?
Right now,
Program.
it's the chief that's heading it up is the chief out of Plastow, as I told you before. He is running a system similar to what he would like to set up. He doesn't want to run it, so there would probably be a board, whether it be out of the Seacoast chiefs or the affected towns that would oversee it, type of thing, and then it would be running hopefully at a break-even cost type of thing. It's
So it would be like a regional
not a
cooperative,
regional cooperative thing.
okay?
The reason they would like to use our station is it's kind of central to most of the towns that would be needing it. They are willing to come up with a monthly rental fee type of thing. It's been discussed back and forth. We haven't come up with a number totally yet. I will hopefully have better information tomorrow after the meeting. He just wants to make sure that everybody wants to go in that direction. He's more than willing to set up. He's talked to several different people that could make this a fairly easy transition. He's right now got 3 or 4 of the paramedics that work for ALS that are working for him that would be willing to come over, so we're not totally renting paramedics. So it's in the planning stages. Don't have any set real dates for it. Just before I say yay to the group, I just wanted the blessing from you guys that you were interested in doing it.
And what's the funding source of this cooperative program? Would it be cost sharing
Coming
with
up
all
a
towns?
Fee, and I have, like I say, I'll know more tomorrow,
Okay.
whether it's gonna be, okay, they're gonna bill you X amount of dollars, whether you use them or not, meaning if they turn a wheel, it's gonna cost you, and then they would spread that out. He's looking at a 5-year projected contract with it, starting it at this, and maybe increasing over the next 3 or 4 to get it to where it needs to be. He's got a couple things in the works. Like I said, I don't wanna let any cats out of the bag, so until he's set with
Sure.
everybody else, I'd like to
But likely cooperatively funded in some way.
cooperatively fund it out of
Okay.
the town.
Okay.
So if you use it more, then it's gonna cost you more, but it would be cooperatively funded. I think he's coming up with a rate.
So are you looking for this board generally to offer support to the idea of housing
Yeah,
these
we would-
folks in
We'd
Brentwood?
have to come back and have discussions as to what
Right.
you think the fee should be and
Right.
that type of thing, but before I stick my neck out
Okay.
and say you guys aren't even interested,
Yep.
I'd like to at least have that.
Do you have concerns, worries, or issues about disruption or problems that would cause our
I
Fire
don't see
crew?
it being a problem. We're moving forward. At some point, it may get a little tight on bunk space, but we can do some rearranging and doing some things that way. My station is set up to, right now, as long as you pair up a couple, we'll take 5. There's one room that's separate, that's set up for an office.
okay, board questions or comments?
Is there a benefit for us doing this?
Pay a rental fee.
Okay. Is that the, I mean, is there benefits beyond that?
Yes.
closest
They're in town.
They're
Okay.
right here.
They're literally here. If you need them, they're here.
Okay.
It's not, we're not waiting the 8 minutes that's gotta go that way, or 10 minutes that's gotta go to Stratham, or whatever else. They're literally here. As long as they're on duty, they're here.
And Chief, would we be the only site, or would there be multiple
don't know
housing
how-
sites?
Like I said, I haven't sat with him, because you've got Nottingham and places like that that we're using it. So I don't know exactly what boundaries he set up. I know we had talked about Danville, Fremont, East Kingston, out to Stratham, maybe to Hampton Falls, but Hampton's I think Hampton Falls working on something with Seabrook and Exeter that way, in that direction. And Hampton's right there, so I
Okay.
don't know whether they're working on something separate for them, but that's.
So the details are being fleshed out for
yeah,
coverage.
We don't know exactly how far it's going, which direction. I know it goes the direction, it goes all the way out to Deerfield, which I've never understood. And then it goes out through Nottingham and out that way. The furthest it goes, Lee is set up through Durham, so the furthest it goes that way is that.
Okay,
Unless somebody doesn't have one, and then you may run it over the other way.
okay, right. Other board questions or comments about the idea of potentially housing an ALS squad in town? John, any comments?
I just would like to voice my full support for this conceptually, and look forward to kind of seeing more on paper. But I think that this is a phenomenal thing for the region, and phenomenal thing for the town of Brentwood as well. So thank you to the chief for being a leader in this regard.
Absolutely. I'm kind of surprised that things have moved forward this quickly since that announcement of the closure was just last month.
It's nice when you got a guy that's already been through it.
Nice,
He's
great.
He's literally taken he's been in town about 4 or 5 years. He's got his engine company, he set up, Plastow's big enough that he can set it up, that he can have his paramedics separate, and he's come a long way with it in the last 4 or 5 years. So it's not reinventing the wheel.
Yep.
It's just getting all the parties to cooperate and come up with something that fits.
Okay.
He's got the framework, to
Nice,
make the framework work.
nice, great.
And I didn't mean to ask questions that were overly obvious. I just wanted to
No.
make sure the benefits
The only question
were understood.
that doesn't get asked is the wrong one, that's all.
Would anybody be interested maybe in making a motion to just have the board make our general support for moving ahead with these discussions?
Move.
Let's all fight over.
Okay, so
Second.
let's say Andy and Letty for second. Roll call vote, Andy,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Letty,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So we will move forward and you'll let us know when you're ready to bring us some more details.
I will definitely do that. Like I
Okay.
said, I may have a little better information after tomorrow.
Thank you for that update. I didn't even know things were that far along, so that's really nice to hear.
If it goes the way he'd like it to go, it should move fairly quickly,
Wonderful.
but we'll see.
Great.
No better, you get 6 or 8 towns and things and running it by, because at the same time, there's gonna be expenses coming up with where that's coming. So it's actually a good time to have it go, because most people are going through their budgets at
Yep.
this point.
Yep.
So if you got some idea what the expenses would be, it would be great.
Okay, all right. Next, we have succession planning for fire department. And I think that this is a discussion that the board wanted to have. It's come up at the budget committee as well, that one of these days, Chief Byrd is probably going to want to retire. And we need to discuss what our plans would be as we move forward. Oh, and John is here, so he's off remote.
6:55, he arrived.
Welcome. So I don't know, I know John and Letty have both been involved in some of these discussions. I don't know who wants to take the lead on this conversation, or if we want to allow these folks to take the lead. I don't know what conversations have happened over at FD about next steps here.
Well, I'll start it off.
Please do.
They are right. At some point, this is not gonna be my life's work. You know what you go through with a transition. I'll use the PD as an example, that kind of thing. I literally do not have anybody coming up behind me that would be even remotely interested in this position. Hence the reason it would be an outside position to start with. The idea behind this is to get somebody's feet wet, get them familiar with the town, get them familiar with pick my brain for my 30-something years that I've been here, and try to, help set that up and get it going rather than to have somebody walk in cold. So that was the idea behind it. I don't disagree with it. I think it's a good idea. How you go forward after that is up to you guys, but I think that's the idea at this point. The department's gonna continue to grow. At some point, you're gonna have to have this position anyway, because the chief will be busy. You're gonna have to have some other structure below that we've been discussing back and forth. We're looking at him being the floor lieutenant, floor deputy, which means he'd be responsible for the repairs and the day-to-day operations on the floor, and the day-to-day responsibilities for the full-time guys, something similar to what the lieutenant's doing here now, freeing me up to sit at these meetings, giving you another person on the floor, at least 5 days a week, 4 days a week, whatever we negotiate out with them, and we go from there. And then we're looking at down the road here, probably taking at least one of your full-time people and promoting them to a lieutenant's position. And that makes them responsible for the floating per diem that's coming in and out every day type of thing. And we're also looking at it either another full-time person per shift or a per diem. And then you're gonna, at some point, looking at paying for nights. We've been fortunate that stipend's working at the moment. How long that'll hold together, I don't know. But we've had a pretty good cooperative group. The problem I'm having now is if you bang out with one of the per diems during the day, if you fill it, you fill it. If you don't, you don't. It was myself and Katarina and one of my per diems today, because we had somebody bang out. So it'd be nice to at least have 2 on the floor. So if you put the deputy on, he'd be around to at least fill that spot too. And it would give you 3 on the days and 2 on the nights at some point. Give you an idea what we're looking at. Did I cover it, Lenny?
I think so. So that's like
Out in the future.
yeah. So
Long-term wish
so
list
what we had
building.
talked about with him is just like the PD kind of had a
Similar issue.
right, like we are here, we need to be here, and here's how we get there. And so that's what we're trying to figure out for them. I know last week we had talked about posting the deputy position now with hopes that we could have somebody sooner rather than later, but it would probably not be until 25 that they would physically start.
So is the idea that for this year's budget, the priority is just getting a deputy, and then over like a multi-year plan would be whether there's a lieutenant, whether there's growth of the department, that would sort of be a multi-year growth process?
Yes, but next year I think is going to be the deputy and 1 lieutenant.
No, I was looking where I have the 2 open spots now. We've played around with the salaries. I'd like to take on 2 of them as lieutenants if I can find 2 people and fill those 2 spots with lieutenants. So it would be a deputy and the 2 lieutenants. We came up with about a 200 and
Oh yeah, I got that too.
it comes up to about a 273,000, a little over that increase if you do that, a deputy and 2 full-time lieutenants. the idea behind that is, if you get them in here, now you've got somebody that may be at the end of their career and have the experience, and wanna come over and are tired of playing run with Exeter, or tired of playing with run with the other towns and wanna finish up 5 or 6 years in order to get out with their pensions. And you would get some experience that way. I've got a couple of people I'm talking to. At the moment, there's no guarantees. Depends on a lot of things, the benefit package.
And Chief, you're talking right now specifically about the lieutenants, about transitioning our full-time open positions to full-time lieutenant positions.
Switch the 2 to lieutenants.
And the appeal for that would just be a pay increase and then seniority, responsibility of that
Right.
position.
There's a pay increase, there's seniority, we may end up paying a little bit for the seniority coming over from somewhere type of thing versus you can't start at the bottom here totally. They've got the experience over there, so you gotta be able to pay for something. But that's kind of what we came up with. Just to give you an idea, like I said, it's about 273,000, a little book, what did I tell you? 273, a little over that. 273,170.
The bulk of that is the deputy.
The bulk of it is the deputy. Well, actually, it splits, yeah. Bulk of it.
Because
And then
it's a
there
whole.
is pay, I gave you that includes that pay increase that we originally gave Karen. So that gives everybody a pay increase, hopefully gets me a couple of deputies and a couple of lieutenants and a deputy. That's the idea.
And the lieutenants aren't necessarily new head count. It's the only new head count is the deputy.
The only new headcount would be the deputy.
And we had talked about moving forward on that in a kind of as soon as possible timeframe.
I think we were acknowledging that even if we post it right now, we're not gonna get somebody.
Yeah.
Before the first of the
I
year.
can tell you, whether it's me or somebody else, we're gonna be in here looking for a full-time, 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week next year. So the quicker you insert this, the easier the pill will be to swallow on the other end for the next thing that's coming.
One of the other things we had talked about is the kind of revolving door we have with having these lieutenant positions with some more experience as more of a mentor situation. Would that be helpful?
I don't know if that'll slow that down or not.
Okay.
The young kids, I'll be honest with you, the young kids wanna be busy. And when I'm doing 1,000 calls and you go out and do 3,000 calls somewhere else, or you got that feeling, the last one I lost, and I'm losing one to Rye, but he wants to go play in the water. I got one that I lost to Nashua, but it's a bigger department. They're busy. They wanna go play in the city and they're hoping they're gonna see more fire. What they don't realize is you see more fireworks all the time. You're in a lot more places. He can go over there now and they gotta be on their second or third alarm and Nashua, and he'd still be sitting in the station. But that's what they want. That's why with these lieutenant positions, you're hopefully gonna attract a couple of people that play, don't wanna play anymore, don't wanna play with the drunks at Durham. That type of thing, so.
And were there discussions about putting these in the budget versus using a little bit of leftover ARPA versus warrant articles? What kind of discussions have taken place about what would be the best way to move forward?
I don't think
with this?
I don't think using ARPA would be helpful because it would just.
It's just a patch on it.
It's
yeah.
just a patch, and I feel like it's more transparent to just put it in the budget because it is going to cost people money. What was the other thing you asked about?
Warrant articles. Sometimes when we're growing a department, adding a department, there's the plus minus of budget versus warrants.
It's too important. I mean, I guess we could do it as an advisory, but it's really important.
Well, sure. I mean, we have to have a fire chief.
Right. So I think as a board, we can decide if we want to that this is part of managing the town that needs to happen.
I think it helps with the transition too. I think if somebody's whether you take them from the outside and get them filtered in, so they know the department, they know the people, they're not walking through the door cold and trying to get a feel for the department. I think it goes with better transition, because these people, your staff knows what they are, or who they are.
Mhm.
You get somebody off the street, it can go one way or the other. And I've seen a lot of departments dump people left and right because they didn't like the new chief coming through the door. I've seen departments, cuddle the new chief coming through the door, but they knew who he was and where he was coming. This is a very, very small, tight group. There's 250 fire departments in the town, or in the state of New Hampshire. And everybody knows everybody. If they don't, they know where to drop the dime to find out where that everybody's coming. So you could sit here and do an interview, I'll guarantee one of my firefighters on the floor probably knows more than you do with a phone call, because he knows who he's chasing. So to get these guys to buy into it, I think it would be very important for them to go through at least part of the process, so they've got some idea who this deputy's gonna be. If you decide to do this, I think it would make a big difference, make the transition a lot better.
Board comments, questions about this idea of adding a deputy and potentially transitioning 2 of our full-time positions into lieutenant positions to help with recruitment and retention?
So, 270 is what you said would be.
Yeah, a little low.
So just putting aside the deputy, how does that break down? What's the cost of that?
The cost of it is basically a pay scale difference. You got the original pay scale that I handed you guys, which is part of that, that was,
This one?
hang on a minute. Yep. That one, where did it go?
It's
The
the colorful one, right?
Yeah, but it actually came out on a sheet.
Do we have that?
No.
Not today.
Oh,
We've got it. in the
Oh, you
past.
guys have seen it
I
at
can
your
make-
meetings?
I can make copies.
I got a
It's-
couple here. I don't have enough to go all.
Maybe you can let Paul look at one for this
Okay.
discussion.
You're more than welcome to look at.
It's presumably salary and benefits for a deputy and then
Yeah.
position adjustment for the 2 lieutenants, plus benefits adjustants for there.
And I think he also said pay adjustments for the,
Pay adjustments
Fire-
across the
firefighters.
board, because we were comparing ourselves, Letty pointed it out, what you're paying an officer to come through the door versus what you're paying a firefighter to come through the door was a fairly substantial difference in the pay scale. So I took Letty's figure and used that and boosted it across the board to make it fair for everybody. And that's how we came up with that. Then on top of that, we added the deputy and the 2 lieutenants.
Oh, okay, so that 273 includes all of the
All
wage
the
adjustments you'd be
bells and
suggesting
whistles, yes.
when your budget comes up? Oh, okay, gotcha.
There's no.
I didn't understand that at
secrets in that
Okay,
Beyond that.
okay. Other questions or comments?
So I'm sorry, I'm still not seeing them. The deputy
You-
would.
The
add how
deputy's
much?
built into
Right
the
here.
administrative.
So it's $90,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So it'd be $90,000 in salary for the deputy, and then, the next number is the retirement number,
You gotta push the retirement number, you gotta push the,
and then the third one is taxes?
like, Medicare.
Yep.
A little bit of
So
that.
basically a total of 118 for the deputy.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
plus benefits.
plus benefits.
Plus
That doesn't
healthcare.
Which is
include
not in this budget.
the insurances and all that stuff that he may or may not want. That's my part of it.
Does that make sense?
So there's really multiple moving parts here. There's the deputy, there's the wage adjustments for lieutenants, and then there's wage adjustments for regular full-time
Right.
officers, where there would be 2 left, 2 full-time positions,
There'd be
2.
one- There'd be 1 slot left that would be probably a firefighter, if I took the 2 lieutenants.
Okay, so you'd
If I
have,
can fill 2 lieutenants, then I would have 1 slot.
Okay, so
There's
you'd have,
still a possibility, and I told you this before, that I may lose the other one to Texas.
so you'd have the chief, the deputy chief, 2 lieutenants, and a full-time officer?
2 full-time guys, so it would be
2
Two
full-time
full-time
officers.
slots.
2
Yeah,
full-time slots.
Yep.
It's head count.
Oh, head count, okay, 2 openings, yeah,
yeah.
okay. You physically have 1 right now. That's what
Well,
you're
you
saying.
physically have 2.
I got 2 right now.
Okay, gotcha.
We'll have a 3rd one by the end of the week.
Hey.
So some of this is really, budgetary discussion for when we discuss the fire budget. I think the reason it's coming here tonight was the folks on the board were interested out of all these discussions of could the board move forward on the deputy as its own separate issue? Because I think the feeling was that was the most time-sensitive issue. Am I reading this
I
correctly?
mean, it's not just like if we wait until after town meeting, then we're not going to get somebody until the middle of next year, if we're lucky.
This is genuinely just responsible governance. We're
Yeah, yeah.
like that's literally.
No, I'm just trying to
You posted-
clarify out of
you
all
post-
these asks, which one is the most pressing?
The
What
dep-
I'm hearing is the deputy.
I mean, they're all pretty pressing.
Sure.
Just for context, I know you don't have this. Currently, the highest qualified person, which is a firefighter 2 paramedic, makes $27.30 an hour.
Yep.
Somebody that comes in at the bottom of the scale, with firefighter 1 makes $20 an hour, which is not a lot
Competitive.
when we're hoping that they're gonna save people. So,
Sure. But of course, those wage adjustments would be, if they were in the budget, wouldn't go active until after town meeting
yes,
next year.
yes.
Okay.
But I just don't want to lose sight of the fact that is also super important in terms of retention.
Sure, sure. Is the thought that if this board is in general support of a deputy, that we would look to do that before town meeting? Is that what the ask is here?
The budget's laid out right now for the deputy start at the 90, at the top.
Okay,
So the budget's built within.
okay, so you built it that way.
I did it that way because I'm not an ARPA fund person and then turn around and tell everybody, well, you ate it. We ate it the first year, we all look like heroes, and then we.
Sure, yeah, ARPA's just a Band-Aid for 1 year.
You're
Yeah.
really gonna end up, so the budget right now is built January 1st.
But we have the funds to do it now.
You won't,
But we,
by the time you do a posting, by the time you do interviews, by the time you do your background checks, you're gonna be looking at the first inning.
I
I'm just-
totally agree with you, but I don't want to wait until
No,
the
no, no,
first
I wanna do the
in order to
posting, yeah.
post. That's where I'm going
Sure.
with this. I don't want
I'd
to
like
wait.
be able to
yeah.
do the post.
And I'm just asking, so how do we have the funds now? That's what I'm trying to.
Because they're
Because they're
We don't
under
have-
vacancies.
They're under budget.
because we have several positions that are unfilled because of this problem that we're trying to.
So would we be encumbering some funds?
We can have that discussion later. This isn't going to be a problem, honestly, because it
I don't
is
think we need
basically
to encumber
November.
funds, right? Because the first 3 months of the year are like retroactively paid back to this year. I don't really know how it works.
We could encumber if we were under contract before the.
No,
bef-
I don't want to encumber anything because expenses.
Excuse the numbers.
Yeah, expenses start January 1st, even though we don't approve them until town meeting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I say the position is built in there to start.
Right.
I think it's a
We
moot.
don't vote it till
Yeah,
March.
I don't think we're gonna have
Right.
a problem paying the
Yeah.
bills based on the vacancies.
Yep.
The other two would be.
So I think that the ask is the creation of the head count so that we can move forward on trying to find the individual who would potentially fill this role. We're not gonna, I think we all on this board, it's November 1st, basically. We're not gonna find someone before the first of the year and get them through the process, so.
Don't, you never know.
I would love to find someone,
Maybe we'll get lucky.
and that would be a blessing.
I think we're due. There's some luck.
I would actually go and say that we should staff the 2 lieutenant positions if you can find somebody. Because if you're down to 1 firefighter, having a deputy doesn't do you much good either if.
It's true.
No, we're playing Band-Aids, we really are, like I said, and that's the reason I turned around and I says, okay, you take the 2 full-time people now, you're already paying for a per diem on top of that, then next year you probably either, depending on how this board wants to go, whether you fight it for 4 more full-time people, or whether you wanna try to cover it with per diems, but you're gonna end up doing that 24/7 at that point. There's no way, I don't see the stipend continuing to cover the way it's covering now. I've had holes. I had one guy on literally by himself over the weekend. The idea behind the original first 4 was to at least have somebody in the station to answer a call for an emergency.
It would be a phenomenal problem for this board to have to figure out how to get 2 lieutenants and a deputy on through the process by January 1st. I mean, that would be a good problem to have.
With the lieutenants, are you talking about existing personnel, or you're talking
There
about?
aren't
I'm
any
going out.
people.
Okay.
I'm going out, I don't, there again, it's a call department. What I'm working with.
And I'm sorry, my
No, no,
base of
no,
knowledge
and
is,
I'm
yeah,
more than willing to
yeah,
explain it.
yeah, yeah.
I'm in charge of about 30 heads, let's put it that way. I've got 4 that I really have any, or 5, I should say, that I have any real say on. Everybody else can be here today and gone tomorrow, whether it be the call department or whether it be the per diems. The idea behind getting the 2 lieutenants in there is when I do get a per diem or I get somebody new, if we get around to filling it with full-time people, I've got some guidance. They're familiar with the town. They're familiar with the equipment. They're familiar with some of the panels. Right now, I send anybody out, I do the best I can. I run about a 2-week crash course, and my full-time guys are on their own. I try to pair them up with some of my senior people, but at the same time, everybody's got jobs, and everybody's got lives above and beyond fire department. When I got on 30-some years ago, it was a calling, and you dropped what you were doing, but it was a small town, and we weren't doing 1,000 calls a year either. We were doing a couple hundred, and you were more than willing to pitch in the time. Those days are gone.
So Paul, just a little more on that. Stop me if I'm wrong. We can't find firefighters. So the chiefs come up with an idea that maybe if we pay lieutenants, now we can poach firefighters who want to be officers.
Right.
So it
Or they
kind
want to
of,
be somewhere quiet, like
it,
here.
it kind
Right.
of gives us
A little leeway, leverage.
something new. Like, you've worked 10 years at your current job, and now you're looking to, and the problem is you're not getting a lieutenant's position in your current job, because the guy that's had it for 20. So now you're, hey, Brentwood's gonna hire lieutenants, maybe I'll go work there. Now, instead of firefighters, we're trying to pull from a different pool of candidates.
You're pulling from if you go to the lieutenant spots, you're gonna be pulling more experienced people. I can't do what I'm doing with the full-time guys. These guys would have to know what's going on, be familiar with the equipment. Been doing it for a length of time. I haven't written that up yet. I'm gonna go back and look at a couple of the contracts from other towns, but that's the idea. You're getting an experienced person. He may not know the town of Brentwood, but he's well-versed in a fire truck, or well-versed in the medical end of it, that type of thing. You're not taking some kid who's just now got his advanced EMT, or has now got his basic EMT, and wants to start out in the fire service. This is what we are now. You're the training ground. They get in here, they learn what it's like to ride the back of an ambulance, they learn what it's like to be on a department, and then they go, hey, I can go over here. And granted, they're living in the stations, but they're paying more money to start with, and then the overtime attracts them because they can, okay, I got a 12-hour slot. And they're paying for classes. That's something else that isn't even included in this budget. At some point, you gotta start paying these people to go to school, reward them for going to school. You gotta pay for the person to cover that person while he's in school, if you wanna go that way. These are the growing pains when you're starting a new fire department.
That was something that I thought was really interesting, is that I know for the police department, we send people to be trained as a police officer, and that is not the case with the fire department. It's on the individual to pay for their own courses and certification.
Okay. Other board comments or suggestions? Andy, it sounds like, having been here a long time, that you're voicing support for this idea of the deputy and the lieutenants.
Yeah, I think the lieutenant's positions are the chief thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
And
You can thank Letty, because she's kind of poked that, and I went, okay, I'm gonna run with it.
Well, so it all comes kind of back to what the police department has done. I think the eventual place you want to end up is a chief, a deputy, 4 lieutenants, and 4 full-time firefighters / EMTs.
And then not have to rely really on a call pool or per diem pool.
Per
as
diems,
much.
I think would probably still be helpful sometimes, maybe during the, I mean,
Sure, of
that would
course.
be for
Yeah.
whoever's
Per diem would-
there.
Per diem would be nice for the third during the day, because we are busy enough during the day to justify
Yep.
that. If you got 2 full-time people on at night and you still have a call department, then you would encourage them to come out and cover with the 2 full-time guys.
Mhm.
You're not gonna put a fire out with 3, but you've got a better shot. Most engine companies in the area are 3, and there's 2 people assigned to them. As you're working in the direction that you're working, just to give you an idea. Then they rotate amongst themselves, so you're not married to begin with all the time.
Yep.
And then once you make that lieutenant position, if you're big enough, they don't ride at all anymore.
Yep. Yep.
They just go in charge of the shift, and they ride the engine, and
Yep.
you're responsible for the crew.
Yep.
But that's way down the road, hopefully.
Hmm.
Yeah, future growth.
Just to get you a feel of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And I think that we as a select board, and you, Joe, as well, need to really be clear and transparent to explain to the community, because this would be a significant tax impact for every family in Brentwood, to really explain, as we did with a couple of years ago, adding a position for 24-hour coverage to make sure when you call 911, you actually get somebody to show up. I think we really need to make sure that we have a good explanation for the public for what will be a tax impact for them, of why this may be sort of one of our only options, because what we're doing right now is not working and is not sustainable. So we have to do something. And I think as long as we do a really good job explaining to the public, because anytime you're raising taxes by $273,000, we need to make sure we have a really good case for the voters in Brentwood to understand why we're doing this. And what I'm hearing is
More than willing to
there's not,
share anything, and they're more
that
than-
there's been a lot of thought that's gone into this, and
And
it feels like
I
necessity.
will let you know that this is not the only town that's got issues.
Of course,
It's
yeah.
across the board. There's a shortage of firefighters to begin with. And even the bigger departments are having trouble finding them.
Sure.
This is hopefully a little bit of a niche, like Andy and I have both explained, that maybe you can get somebody that's done enough in someplace else and wants to finish up the last 5 or 6 years of their career in a smaller town.
Yep.
With a chance to help it grow and go from there. This is kind of the thought process.
Yep.
I think the other thing that we as a board can do, as we're getting other budgets, is just look for places that we could maybe, like, are there things in other budgets and other departments that we could wait on
Sure.
to offset this? Because I don't think this can wait.
Don't think what?
I don't think this can wait.
Okay. Other comments?
So basically, with that 273 is basically what I'll be back in here when I sit to discuss the budget. You pretty much got my pitch for what it's
In
gonna be
advance.
anyway.
Yep.
Tonight, so just to give you an idea, gives you a chance to chew on it, let me know one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing here one of the first, I think, 9th or something, November.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So
maybe I'll try and stop by and we can chat.
You can
because it's-
stop by anytime, the door is
Yeah.
open.
And I
noticed.
think what I might recommend, as we've done, one of my suggestions when I took over as chair, is that when we have big changes like this that have a big financial impact, that the board does not vote on it tonight. I think that would be best not to. I think everybody has said their piece. I think there's probably some people out in the public who have ideas, thoughts, support that they might want to voice for this. And I think in general, we have delayed a vote on this. I know there's a sense of urgency, but I do think given this would be a pretty big directional change for our fire department, that if the board is not opposed to it, it would mean because of the election that we would be delaying it 2 weeks. So I know not everyone might be in support of that. But just as chair, I will suggest that that is one thing we may want to consider tonight, because when we've done other things like this, we have given the public time to hear tonight's presentation, review it, and give us whatever feedback they have. And so I'll just put that out for the board. If the board is interested in doing that, that is one thing we could discuss.
Deputy.
I hear you.
Just
I hear
wanna
ya.
get somebody.
I hear you. I'm just throwing that out, that that's how we've done some big things like this before, to give the public a chance to weigh in. So I'll throw it out there as an option.
I think it's worth noting real quick, if you don't mind me saying.
Please.
And don't take this the wrong way, but if something happened to Joe, what happens to the fire department?
I think that's why we're having this discussion, right?
So
I think that's a point that needs to be brought up.
I was
you know?
meeting with them today to talk about this, and they got a call, and he's like, we have to go because we're the only ones that can drive the ambulance.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with any of that. I'm just
No,
saying
no, absolutely,
procedurally
yeah.
for town buy-in and transparency, that
And I
that's
wanna
one
be perfectly
suggestion.
clear, it's not gonna straighten everything out, it's a step in a direction.
Yep.
I don't wanna sit here and say, okay, we do this now, and it's gonna take care of the problem.
I hear you.
It will give it a little more stability on the full-time side of it, which makes the per diem side a little bit better.
Sure.
When you don't have that full-time person in the station, now it's 2 per diem. And the way guys work, and I don't blame them for doing it, that if a shift opens up where their primary is and they're gonna get paid time and a half to cover that shift, they're gonna drop me.
No, I hear you. This
I-
situation we have isn't very
I don't have a
sustainable.
problem with that. I guess, like I said, I got 4 people that,
Yep.
when I got all 4, 5, 6, that I can actually say, yeah, we need to
Yep.
do this.
Yep.
Other than that, yeah.
Yep, I hear you.
I
Okay.
just came up with a number for the paramedic intercept rental program, though.
You do.
273,000.
For rent. That'd be nice. In one pocket, out the other.
Yeah, okay.
That might be a stretch. That might be a stretch.
So I don't
How,
need to say anything tomorrow then, 'cause it's not gonna happen.
There you go. How would the board like to proceed with all these topics on the table?
For me, I just can't imagine a scenario where we don't move forward
Sure.
with, at the very minimum, the deputy
Yeah.
situation. Like there's no, it's not a question of like, oh, should we do this or should we not?
Yeah, I think from a governance perspective, we
It's
need a
literally
succession plan
just-
for when Joe is ready to depart. That's
It's-
very clear.
I mean, and so that's why I welcome and would appreciate the feedback and input from the public, but I also think that it's our responsibility to move
Sure.
forward as quickly as possible.
Do you want to make a motion to some effect?
If
I'll make
it
a
would be a welcome motion,
I'll make a motion.
sure.
I make a motion that we post for the deputy chief's position whenever you can craft a job description.
And hold on the other discussions until further public comment is allowed and
Yes, which
discuss
would
that
be
in
the
either 2
12th?
weeks. There, I forget, what, is that the night their
Yeah.
budget, they're on our budget?
Oh, no, I just meant the next time that the public would be able to have access to us to tell
Would be
us
the
how they
12th. Although, of course, they can always email us at any time of their choosing if
Yes, they
have
can do it
thoughts.
easier now also by using Selectboard at brentwoodnh.gov. It goes to all of
Correct.
us.
The fire budget is November 25th, so that would be another
Week.
2 weeks out, essentially.
Wait, is that?
Oh, no, wait, that's the
that's-
BudCom. It is November 19th.
Okay, so it would be the week
19th.
after people would have an opportunity to come and speak.
Sure.
That feels.
Yeah, okay. So we have a motion on the table to move forward tonight with the deputy,
Second.
and we have had a second, and then and then to have those other discussions on the 12th at our next meeting, potentially either making decisions that night or bumping 1 week to the 19th when fire is already scheduled to be on our appointment schedule.
And can I ask, I don't know who you want to do it, but I want the budget committee looped into this ASAP.
Yeah,
I
yep,
don't
I'm on
want-
I'm the
I don't-
representative.
Okay, I
Yeah.
don't want them sitting here, you're broadsiding me
Yeah.
with something that
Yeah.
we've sat here and discussed.
Jack Mitchell has done a good job previewing to the BudCom that these conversations were happening in the background. And I've let them know, we had a meeting yesterday. And it seems like a million years ago. And I let them know that we were having a discussion about that tonight. So they don't know the substance or numbers for these conversations, but the BudCom is aware.
I
of
told
the-
Jack
this
same thing.
conversation.
I don't want them in the dark.
Yep, they're not in the dark. We'll just have to bring them the actual details. So we have a motion and a second on the table to create and publish a deputy chief position as of now. Any further discussion before voting?
Yeah, I do a further
Okay,
discussion.
go ahead.
You know, your original point about, you know, putting this off so that the public can have an opportunity, I mean, that resonates with me.
Sure.
And in terms of, you know, just feeling responsible, a lot of this is being hit to me, and I understand maybe, you know, some of you are ahead of the curve, you know, on this than I am, but I'm, you know, being hit with this tonight and being educated, you know, tonight, and it's a lot for me to,
That's part of the reason we're having the discussion.
right,
Yep.
right.
And I
So-
appreciate that we're having it,
Yep.
multiple weeks ahead of your budget. I
Yeah.
think that's very helpful.
Well, yeah,
So-
this is definitely not something you want to spring on in 5 minutes.
No,
Yeah,
no, not go over well.
right. So
I hear your point, Paul. I think to John's point also, though, as a governance issue, the reason I would feel comfortable with the current motion is because I think from a governance perspective, this board really has to move forward with a replacement plan for Joe. And I think the public will be in support of that because the public probably wants us to have a fire
I
chief.
mean-
But some of the other things, that is something we could negotiate further over the coming weeks.
I don't think there's any way that we're gonna hire somebody before the public, like, we will have an opportunity to hear if the public has a real problem with this before.
Sure, of course.
Well, I know, but, you know, by saying that we're going forward with it, it puts the train in,
just gives
it puts
me
the
a
train in
chance.
motion,
It
if you
gives
will.
me, well, it does.
Yeah.
It gives me a chance to put a job description together, run it by whoever wants to see it before it goes out, and depending on where that falls. You may have comments come back on that. If I send everybody a comment, this is what I'm looking for, and you wanna write comments, and I gotta redraft it, that type of thing, you may be 2 weeks out anyway.
Yep.
But
No,
I'm
I
just
know, but
looking
by
for-
voting now, it sets a certain track in motion.
I think
And-
it would be a recording of the intentionality of the board
Right.
to move forward with a deputy.
Right.
Can
And
I-
Chief, I'm not, and don't get me wrong,
No,
you know,
Paul,
yeah,
we're
no,
having a discussion.
yeah,
here.
right,
That's
right,
all
no,
we're
no,
doing.
I know.
Don't
And I feel like, you know, this is something that needs to be discussed, it's important. I think there
Absolutely.
needs
I
to
want
be,
the whole thing
yeah, there needs to be a.
We're on the same page.
Right, there needs to be a plan in place, there's no doubt about that. I just, you know, being hit with all that tonight, I'd like to, you know,
Digest it.
I'd like to hear what the people, digest it, one, and two, hear what the people, you know, out there are saying about it. I think, you know, it's responsible for me to do that.
I'm trying to be as transparent
Yep.
as well as the other two members of this
Yep.
board that I've been working with are trying to be as transparent as possible. And whatever you guys decide, I'm behind. I am just, they gave me a ball to run with. I ran with it. I came back with what I thought I could live with. You guys are the ultimate decisions. The
Yep.
taxpayer is the actual ultimate
Yep.
decider.
Yep.
And I'm just trying to bring something forward.
Yep.
Don't take me wrong, I understand exactly where you're coming from, and I'll be glad to hold any discussions you wanna have on it and try to educate you. I had to educate Letty to a certain extent,
Uh-huh.
and she's talked to a couple of people.
And me.
And you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
so,
and I
when I
think,
walked in here originally, to be honest with you, the board had, other than maybe Andy, had no idea how even a fire department runs. So, please, any questions? That's what I'm here for.
Yep, I think Andy, did you want to say something?
My thought was to maybe help Paul feel better, amend the motion to allow the chief to post an anticipated opening of a deputy chief's position And then after we have our hearing in 2 weeks, we don't have to hire somebody.
Mhm.
Instead of creating the position,
Mm.
if we post for an anticipated opening, we could actually post an anticipated opening for 2 lieutenants. And
For
then
January
after anticipated opening,
Okay, we don't have
Yeah.
to put a date on
we don't
it?
have to put a date.
Okay.
And then if
Just to see if there's any interest.
we don't
okay.
hire somebody, we don't hire somebody, but we've gotten ahead of the ball and got it out there.
Mm.
Okay.
As usual, my brother over here
He's a good compromiser.
makes some reasonable compromises. I could, feel comfortable with that type of amendment.
Is that a second?
Yes.
I think it was Letty's motion originally.
I'm amenable to the amendment.
Okay, okay. So the two changes was anticipated opening, and also you're suggesting putting the lieutenants in there as well.
Sure.
You're comfortable with both of those
Mm-hmm.
amendments? Okay.
Mhm.
So we have a motion and a second on the table. I'm not sure who motioned
I
initially.
think it's technically still my motion. with
Okay.
It
the
is.
As amended.
Sure.
with-
As amended.
And seconded.
Sure.
Perfect. Any further discussion before voting? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't see any opposed, and I'm an aye, so we will move forward with anticipated openings. And any public who is watching this, please feel free to reach out to us by email, in person, or come to our meeting in 2 weeks, or stop by our back table and talk to us at the election next week about how you feel about what your ideas are to help the fire
And I will
department.
pass on that anybody wants to swing into the station and ask questions.
Or go talk to Joe Bird. He's
I don't
making
have a
himself
problem
available.
with that.
Mhm.
I will do my best to explain it to you in the
Great.
direction we're headed.
Great.
My door is open.
Perfect.
I'm not hiding from anybody. I may be on the other side of the tracks.
That's okay.
I'm not hiding.
All right. Thank you, guys, and thank you for being willing to kind of think outside the box to help us have a functional fire department.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
You too. All right, we have two contractual issues to discuss, and then we will do our budgets. So the first one is the landscaping contract, and Andy, I think you.
Did you want to
had
just
kinda-
push that off since
Do you want to?
conservation's here? We
Yeah,
can just
sure.
bump it down the,
Perfect.
bump it down the
Push
list.
that to later.
since
Let's do it.
Kip and
And
Becky
Becky
are
have
here.
been waiting patiently. So let's do the conservation contracts. That should be relatively quick. Becky, if you want to come up. We have two contracts that conservation would like to move forward with. They both have been reviewed by Primex. The suggestions as made by Primex have been accepted by both parties, is my understanding. The first one is the Breen contract. This is the one that we talked about for clearing the Stevens Field. This is a one-time contract for a $4,400 fee to help with clearing of that field. Primex had recommended some small changes to the insurance status, which Mr. Breen was amenable to.
Yep.
The second contract is for the consultant for conservation, Anna Boudreau. That was reviewed by both Primex and Town Council, who had some additions. And my understanding is Ms. Boudreau has agreed to those
Yes.
conditions as well.
Yes.
Okay, so Becky is here tonight looking for the board's consent to have both of those contracts be authorized and put in place. And Becky, is my understanding that both of those would be signed by you as the chair of conservation and just approved by us? How was that left with the two?
I think I'm only advisory. I think it has to be a signature of someone who has
I
the
think that would
authority
probably
to
make
sign,
sense.
Yes.
Yeah, that would make sense. Okay. So did you have anything to add on either one of those contracts?
No, just, you made a very good summary. The Breen contract is a one-time project. We will fund that out of the Conservation Fund partially, and partially out of a $1,000 donation from a local resident, so I think we're covered there. The Boudreau contract, we do have money in the budget to pay for that, and it would be only a portion of that used the end of this fiscal year. The rest would flow into next year.
That Boudreau contract would only be upon, her need and use.
Yes, it's an as-needed use.
Mostly to help with interested parties who
Parties.
might be interested in conserving a property.
Yes.
Right.
This issue of having a consultant work with conservation came up last fall,
Yep.
and when there was a transition in leadership.
Yep.
And with the bond out there and with the work we've done with contacting a few people out there who may be interested, we need someone who can help us guide and work with those individuals to lay out the pros, the cons, the process, the timing, the funding, so that it's a complete presentation.
Great.
I did review both
Yes.
contracts.
Yes, thank
as
you.
well, so,
Yep.
and it seemed reasonable.
Okay. Any board members have questions or comments about these two contracts?
I move we allow the chair to sign the Breen contract.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the table for the Breen contract. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so that one will pass.
I move we allow the chair to sign the Boudreau contract.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the Boudreaux contract. Any further discussion there? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So we are good to go with both of those. If you can get me the final copies with all of the amendments in them, I would be happy to sign them
Yes,
for you.
and if you need any other paperwork, just let me know, but I
Okay.
think you have everything right.
I think
for
I
you.
do have the finalized versions.
Yeah.
Maybe just double check that I have the same version
Okay.
as you.
Okay,
Okay,
very
Thank you
good.
so much, Becky.
Thank you.
All right, so that one was quick. Let's move on to, you want to do the budgets next? So that
Yeah,
we
we'll
can
do
get Kip
Kip.
out of here. So we have debt service and code enforcement. We'll do code enforcement first because Kip is here. And thank you, Kip, for being flexible because I did just tell Kip at approximately 4 PM that he was on tonight's budget. Sorry for not reminding you sooner than that, but he was willing to come back after getting, I hope you got some dinner.
Just
In the
wasn't
interim?
In my calendar and
Gotcha,
some changes.
gotcha.
So, I don't have all my worksheets, but I got a pretty good handle on it, I think. So, you all have my Excel sheet that I had done, I assume.
I don't know that we've necessarily seen that because that might have gone through Karen. So I don't know that we've seen the Excel sheet, but if you can kind of, what we have is the
So you have-
draft, the status of the draft budget from 10-1, which I think
Okay.
you and I looked at today,
Right.
that should match
So that
your
has a
numbers.
bottom line of 92,470.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, that'll be the same. So if everybody's looked down through, you'll see a few minor changes. We've taken out, well, let's start from the top. So previous year, there was a salary and there was a deferred comp that basically was put in and has pretty much been paid out almost to the amount for the past couple. So when you look at the salary line, I believe if you added in the deferred comp with the salary, you're gonna come out with, I believe, don't have my worksheet, but 3% of that will probably bring you to someplace in or around the, that amount of 67.9.
Kip, can you explain to the board, similar to how you explained to me earlier, why there was deferred comp in there last year and why it is not suggested for next year? 'Cause I think
For the
that'll help them
past
understand.
Roughly 10 years, I've been a part-time employee. We just added things to the things that I do. So it got to the point where I could not complete those in the hours allowed. So what was happening is every week I was going behind 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever it was. And then I would have to take time off unpaid. I could never catch up.
Right.
So we went to the deferred comp, which was an option to be paid. And sometimes I used up my comp time, sometimes I didn't, or an amount of it. So that's where that came from. And over the course of years, some years I didn't take a pay increase. But I knew that I would always have that extra time if needed. So that's pretty much that one. I took that one out of the line this year for a couple of reasons. One, over the past year and 6 months or so, I've been able to have an electrical inspector put on and a plumbing inspector, which frees up some of my time. Not to say that you all haven't been generous and give me other projects.
We try.
And the other thing, I've been doing this basically without vacations. So at my age, I'm gonna have to slow down a little bit. So I probably will be using up less of my hours likely, and taking a little time here and there. So I put that line in at 0, so that changed that for the coming year. The rest of the stuff is pretty explanatory. The FICA Medicare also includes the FICA for electrical and plumbing. I've kept the electrical and, we had travel, sorry. Travel. I got a 0 in there for that. As I have the town car, I don't use my own truck virtually at all. So I took that amount out of there, which used to be the mileage fee. Professional training, I've upped it by $100. The training's now, whether you do it online or you go in, it runs between 30 and $70 every time you go to a training. Unfortunately, this year, they've had a code change, which was implemented in July of this year, which totally goes into effect in January. So there's been more. So that went up 100. The electrical inspector, I kept the same. I don't have the latest updates, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be able to meet that. Building has slowed a little bit, although we're gonna have some more commercial stuff coming. So the electrical inspector, most towns are paying out $50 per. We're doing 40 right now. I intend to boost that to 45.
For inspection.
Per inspection. But I've kept the number the same. I'm pretty sure that's gonna work out. You just never know when the next subdivision comes in. On the plumbing, oh, that looks odd. Yeah, so plumbing, I went from 5 to 7, and you only see, well, this is an old sheet. You only see a small amount taken out, but I just put the plumbing inspector on. I didn't find anybody until, I'd say it was like August.
Okay.
And he's only done a few inspections. I expect that to be ramping up. I also intend to, we don't have a mechanical permit at this time. We just never had one, and there was no way that I could take that on as well. We'll probably add a mechanical permit and fees to our fee schedule and our permitting system, which will also bring in extra revenue beyond just the plumbing. And the gentleman I hired is qualified for each. Let's see. Everything else stayed the same. Dues and subscriptions, books and publications. I increased it by 400. This year, we're gonna put between, I just bought them for the town of East Kingston, not all the books, but the pertinent ones. It was over $700. We're gonna be between $700 and $1,000. I don't believe I've spent my book allowance because we're in between years. So I hope to buy a portion of the books prior to the first of the year and then buy the rest after, which should bring me to an average amount, roughly 700. So that's why that one went up. What am I missing? Anything?
Just a quick question, Kip.
Yes.
Where would you pay for oil changes and maintenance to your car?
I wouldn't. It's never been a line that I could ascertain. So typically the car, oh, here we are. So
I was gonna
So the
ask how much
vehicle-
longer the car's gonna last for.
the vehicle doesn't get a total, an awful lot of miles on it. So far, I've replaced the battery and I've done 2 oil changes. No, only 1 on that vehicle, I think. Let's not talk about inspections at this point. So there isn't a lot of, there's not a lot that goes into it. I don't know whose budget or where it comes out of, where that line is. If you would like, we can put some travel mileage back in there for,
I guess we can put it under general government.
so, an
Do you know,
example.
Jillian, what line item that's paid out of? Not sure. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So, for example, the vehicle needs an exhaust to get inspected. The estimated cost of that is $1,800. You know, it's,
Do you know in the past, Andy, where those maintenance fees might have come out of? Because you said that you used to have a travel line in here, but then it was,
I did.
that was when you were using your own
Right,
vehicle?
yeah.
So to my other question, is it worth putting a new exhaust in this vehicle? How old is this vehicle?
This one is pretty new, this is 2017.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I mean, the one I had before was 2014.
Where did it come from?
PD.
Oh.
You see, you gotta understand that these vehicles have 200,
Trickle down vehicle.
200,000.
But so saying it's from 2017 is actually not great.
Yeah, it might have a lot of
No,
miles
it
on it.
means it's lived its 4 or 5 year life cycle, and it's suiting me fine. But
Okay.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
that's just how it is. And that's why the next time they change down a vehicle, we'll get another year's
I
use
don't-
out of another
I
one.
don't,
Yeah, okay.
You know.
Do you know where we were putting those line items for like maintenance of his
I
vehicle?
don't, I would assume it would have been coming out of the travel and mileage. I mean, because obviously he doesn't spend a whole lot of money on repairs,
Right.
so.
So if you would like, just for general maintenance, you can put that line or a portion of it back in.
we
Might
put
be
$1
wise.
Yeah, you could also put $1 in it just for a
just for
safety
tracking.
buffer. And Kip, one other question I have about, because I think I'm missing something with the deferred compensation. So that deferred compensation was basically extra hours that you were working above and beyond your regular hours. What I thought I was hearing you saying is you're not planning to work those extra hours this
What
coming
I'm
year.
planning on is cutting back my hours if possible to get away.
Right, of course,
so-
as you have every
So, see, what I
ability
put
to
in-
do.
What I've put in place is the online system.
Yep.
So I can be wherever, and remotely, I can review plans online.
Yep.
And I can issue permits, and I can do all that.
Yep.
Thing that I can't do is go out and do a structural inspection.
Yep.
So one of the gentlemen that I hired is a backup building inspector for a couple other towns as well. So I'm just putting everything in place. So if my knees go or something.
Yep.
You got somebody to back me up.
Yep.
Succession plan?
Yeah, so I was just trying to understand if you don't think you're going to be asking for deferred compensation, but I thought you also said that that money got moved into the salaries line item. So I was just a
Because
little.
I bumped the previous year's salary by a percentage. So if you took the
Okay.
previous year's salary, added that,
Oh, I see. You basically
added
added those hours back into your total compensation. Okay.
instead of decreasing my pay, I
Gotcha.
just, so.
Gotcha. Okay. I just was trying to get it right in my
So,
mind.
and I get paid by the hour.
Yep.
So if I don't show, if I'm not here on two
Sure.
Wednesdays, you're not paying me either.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. I got it.
Would it make sense to see if East Kingston wants to share a vehicle with us? Since we share a KIP, kind of like we share the van with Kingston?
I don't know. Do you feel, you said it was, your current vehicle was meeting your needs at this time, despite the needing an exhaust?
right. It's just a piece of plastic on the window. It's, it's meeting my needs, fine.
I'm not saying to buy another vehicle.
No, I understand.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. I think we could probably talk about
I mean,
that separate from the
Some of
budget.
the things that I try to do once in a while, not all the time, but it's trainings, get in East Kingston, I'll go to one, and take something out of my Brentwood budget for another, you know, back and forth. You know, I don't know that there are any car offers the other town.
Yeah.
At this point.
Just
Or anything better.
Just a reminder, the majority of this budget is in and out, so.
Right.
I'm gonna move the 92,741,
470?
471.
Okay.
Second.
So did we not, we don't want to add?
I put $1.
Oh, you did? Okay, great.
Yeah, he added $1 for travel and mileage.
$1.
So we have a motion for 92,471 code enforcement budget. Is there a second? There's a second. Any other discussion before voting? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So it passes unanimous. Thank you, Kip.
Can we actually, I wanted to talk about the thing at the rec, and Kip might be able to actually answer
Sure.
some of the questions.
Yeah,
more
since we've got him here, you wanna ask the
substantively
question?
than I can.
Sure.
Kip, sorry to put you on the spot, but I had a separate conversation with Letty and Jen about the pad at the rec and how we need to add gradation around
I gave you a
yeah.
quote for that.
about $3,900. We talked about it.
Right.
And we need to do it before we put in the fence.
It would be probably best. So,
Can we talk, can you just talk about why we need to do it?
yeah, so the concept is,
This is for the new tennis courts that went in.
correct.
Yes.
Yep.
So we dug it out, we put in fill, we compacted, we did the 2 layers of asphalt. So now we got a fence that's coming, we're in the queue. So obviously you're not gonna dig right beside the asphalt to put in the post and the concrete. You're gonna be a couple feet off.
Oh.
So we used up as much loam as we had dug out around the leveling off. But we've still got like 3 sides that will have like a 4-inch dip going down to the fence. So there's 2 things. One, your pickleballs or tennis balls are gonna roll under the fence, and or worse than that, you're gonna snap an ankle coming off the side, you know, because you got that extra.
We just didn't have enough loam to fill all 4
Right.
sides.
We scraped it all and
Yep.
we put it back where it needed and we're out.
Okay.
Actually had them there last week. We didn't get too far with what we had left. So, and again, I know you do field grading and so on and so forth on baseball fields and upgrades. So I don't know if you had any budget on the landscaping end. But it's gonna cost roughly, whatever it was, 34, 38, 39?
I thought it was 38 and change, so I said 3,900.
39. That's the quote that I got to bring in screen loam and put that down. I mean, there's other things you could do. You could put down stone dust, so you'd have a little less maintenance as far as weed whacking around the inside of it. There's different things that you could do, just like you do on the shoulder of the road. But it really should be built up. I guess is the.
And it should be built up before we put the fence up. That's the thing I don't understand, because it feels like you're just gonna have to dig this out.
Well, you can fluff around where the posts go, but it's really hard to go in and backfill on the other side of the fence. Well, we could do that. We could.
No, I'm genuinely curious, because I thought that the whole idea is that the fence is gonna have a way to put the big lights in there. So I thought we were gonna have a double gate for
Big
vehicles
lights?
to be able to go in.
If we were gonna ever do lights, those would be on the outside of the fence.
So I'm talking about the lights that you currently have that have no safe place to be stored
Oh,
securely.
yeah, those would also be on the outside of the fence, though.
Yeah, there's
No,
actually no
for
room.
storage. Never mind.
I don't know.
So,
The
Lydia, I
really-
think what he's talking about is the fence posts have to be buried this deep.
Yes, I understand.
Currently, they're gonna be down here. If you put the loom in, they're gonna be up here, so now the fence and everything is even with the court.
Are you telling me that you can't figure out how deep to put the fence posts
Well,
before you
you-
put the dirt in?
You have to have the dirt in order to put the fence posts in them.
You have to level it out first and then put the
The
fence.
fence post will be whatever is this, whatever the the manufacturer says that they gotta be X deep for a 10-foot fence.
Yeah.
Just say the 2 feet in. Some posts can be drilled and put in probably. Other posts that are the larger ones will need to be dug and concreted in. So you can put the fill in after, but you're gonna have to get a small vehicle and go inside the court and put it in. It's a lot easier just to
Yeah.
take a few shovelfuls and put around the fence post.
And if it needs to be done either way, then the
1 every
timing,
10
we should
feet or
do the
so.
smarter timing.
So I just wanted you to be aware of that. It's something that's gonna need to be done.
Okay.
How did this happen? Like,
We didn't
like-
have enough, we didn't have enough loan.
So if you started a project
Mm-hmm,
with the total plan
mm-hmm,
and everything was calculated,
uh-huh,
we may or may not have seized this, but in general, we got a price on a tennis court being dug out and put in.
uh-huh.
We got a price on a fence. We did not get a price on lining. We did not get a price on nets. We did not get those things.
The lining and nets have been discussed and are gonna come out of the rec budget, just so we're all clear
Yeah,
about
I'm
that.
not saying that,
Yeah.
it hasn't been talked about, but not on my plan sheet,
Yep.
that's all. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that end, and no different than putting in the baseball field and have to go back every year and add something to level out the field or upgrade the mound or the
Yep.
bases. So,
And was there discussion at the rec of where the 3,900 would come from?
There hasn't been a rec meeting since
Okay.
this has come up.
Okay.
So, no, there has not, but.
Do you
but
have a
the-
suggestion?
Uh,
Because it sounds like we would need to do it before, ideally, before the fence, which is coming whenever they're ready.
well, ideally,
Okay.
you know, it can be done after if need be. And we're getting that time of the year. We pushed it as fast as we could, but you get that time of year where you're probably not gonna line it until the spring.
Yeah, that's accurate. And there's also the possibility that we're gonna have a grant to get an acrylic top for the courts.
Cool.
That's cool. So, and then I assume you're gonna set up a schedule fees or whatever that you wanna
Yep.
be able to sell time on the court.
Yeah, I think the rec is gonna
And
figure
so,
that out.
You know, maybe you're looking at that as how you get to the next step. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah,
Is this something time sensitive that you want a decision on tonight, or what's your thought?
If we can, only because the fence is on the way, as Kip said, and so that was why I wanted to discuss it tonight if possible. And Kip, I just want to say thank you I'm glad that you were here, because the explanation that he could give is a lot more thorough than the explanation I could give.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things you can't even, with the best plan, that you can't figure the small, I mean, that's a small volume, when you get down
Yep.
to it, but, because some of the loam had a lot of, you'd had to have gone and got a screener and all that, so that was used to level off on the backside.
Yep.
So, you know, there was gonna be an extra cost no matter what.
All right.
I would say just overspend a rec line item,
Yep.
field maintenance or whatever, with just the anticipation that that's why it was overspent.
I second
Is that a motion?
I second that.
Yes.
Sounds like a motion. Okay. Letty, that's a second?
Yep.
Is
So
there an invoice? I mean, do we have an invoice?
I think we would just be authorizing the
We
rec
have-
to move forward with
We do have,
this.
we have a quote. We don't
Yeah,
have an invoice.
You do.
So we have a motion and a second to allow the rec to absorb this 3,900 into their current budget. Is there any other discussion?
Just that
Oh,
there's an understanding that we understand, that we know
Sure.
that might put their budget over and
Sure.
they're okay
I
with
have
it.
One other
Yes.
mention. So what I was just talking about with best laid plans and just setting numbers on things, so the excavation and the court and the paving came in right on exact.
Great.
We had a number, I believe, that we may have used for fencing. Because we go out for bids, you get one, you get two, three, four.
Yeah.
And whatever we had at the time was probably what we used for the fencing. I believe we brought the fencing down. You may actually have money that was allocated. Yes, no?
I don't know what,
We had two different bids for fencing. We ended up going with the lower one. Are you saying you think it's possible it will come in lower than even the quote that we got?
I don't know what was put down for I don't know how it was budgeted. I just
Okay.
helped with getting fence and
Yep.
then qualifying apples for apples.
Okay.
And I'm thinking it may have been less. John, can you help me?
I don't think,
We budgeted for the lesser one.
We did, yeah.
at 29, I'm trying to remember the number, but I think
Yeah,
it was 29.
29.
because
But
it
we-
was half out of.
I haven't seen the invoice. I've
So
just seen the
certainly if it
quote.
comes in less than that, rec can let us know
Okay,
and
well,
we can
I'm
use
not likely it's gonna.
leftover ARPA for
Yeah,
that.
I can't imagine it's gonna be that much less.
Yeah,
No.
if not, we'll just
Well, I
have
didn't
them
know if
do it in their
we had
budget.
used the only bid that we had previous.
We had two bids and we went
Yeah,
with the
no,
lower
we
one.
went with the lower one.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table for rec to be authorized to spend those extra funds to finish out the leveling of the courts. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we will move forward with that. Is that all that you had for Kip?
It is, thanks.
Okay. All right, thank you, Kip.
Okay, and if anybody calls about a leak on the water tank at the wreck, they
Yes.
are draining the tank.
Okay, so it wasn't, it was a planned leak.
Yeah,
Okay.
I went over there. Sorry, I was late.
That's okay. Yeah, I did hear you had gotten called for a leaky tank. Thank you for being here. All right, the next budget that we have on here is code enforcement.
nope, that's what we just did.
That's
Oh,
Kip.
sorry. Not code, it was because it was the second. on my
Groundhog
list.
Day.
Debt service.
You have no idea.
It does feel like Groundhog Day lately. Okay, just kidding, debt service. All right, so debt service, we have the draft budget as was prepared for October 1st in front of us. When I reviewed this today, two top line things that I noticed. One was that in years past and in reviewing minutes from last year, that the town generally pays down $25,000 of the fire station bond using impact fees. And I just don't see that reflected on this budget. And the other is that last year we elected to leave the TAN line at $1. We hadn't used TAN, which is a tax anticipation note, for many, many, many years. So it had been 30,000 at one point. We had decreased it down to $1, and I just didn't see that reflected in this year. So those are just two things to bring to the board's attention. The other changes in this budget is that you'll see an increase because of the open space bonds. So you'll see that principal goes up and that interest goes up. The interest on our other three bonds here, the Fire Station, Lyford, and Prescott, all go down. And other than that, those are really the only big picture changes. So I'd like the board to discuss those couple of changes or other thoughts on this budget.
I wish that we had confirmed with the chief that he's okay with.
Oh,
using
we were
these
going
impact
to
fees
do that and
way.
forgot when he was here.
Yep. That would be the only hesitation I would have about approving that, even though I know that we are the people that approve the impact fee use. I would just want to make sure that he doesn't have another plan for that in mind.
Can we approve it contingent on?
We can always reopen it if that's a problem. I think,
Yeah.
hasn't that 25K basically been done every year for a
Yes.
decade?
This is
So I
this
think
is not
it's-
going to be a surprise.
It's probably pretty safe
Okay.
to assume that that's going to be okay. And you said that that account had quite a
More
bit
than
more
enough.
than that in it.
Yep.
Yeah, so it wasn't going to drain that account. Other comments about this budget?
Move it.
Motion.
Second.
So that would be decreasing the 985 line item from 75,000 to 50,000. So that would drop the total number by
Can we
25,000.
put the TANs back at 1 too?
And then adding the dollar back in. So if we have the 308,391, we'd be taking, 308,391, we'd be taking out 25,000.
And why does the open space go up?
Because of the Fuller conservation project that we
conserved
approved.
More space this year.
'Cause we borrowed money off the
Well, yeah.
bond.
So what was the original one for 80 and then it goes to 110?
The
We had to
other
budget for
conservation.
the, possible use of the
I have no idea.
$2 million.
Jen's doing it.
And 110 was the actual.
Well, no,
I don't have that.
the first year is just interest that you would pay on it, so the first year of a bond is weird,
Yeah.
the payment is really low.
I got 283392. Yes, our numbers match.
Go team.
So if we're going to take the 25,000 in impact fees, add the one back for TAN, that would get us to a number of 283392, up from 240,081 last year.
Moved.
Second.
It's
Any
fine.
further discussion?
It's not like I already moved it or anything.
Did you already move it?
No, it's cool.
Did you? Oh, John's offended. Sorry, John.
I really don't care.
All right.
Is John here?
280.
Green.
Okay, we're getting. And a second. Three. Further discussion? Seeing none,
Aye.
pass. And look back the landing contract. Andy, I think.
Yes. ASAP Landscaping has been our provider for a while now. I checked with Joyce and she has had no issues and actually commended them on the work that they've done. She said she also talked to Andy and he's had no problems with them either. They have not given us an increase in a few years, actually since we started with them, so they're asking for a $5,000 increase.
What percentage is that?
What's the total number?
5,000
Ish.
from what?
Ish.
30,000?
So 30 to 35?
Yes.
So
Do they
it's like a
have-
16%
Are they
increase.
doing anything new or different since?
They said the cleanups of the fields and cemeteries are much more exuberant than they thought they would be.
Okay.
So
Okay.
fall cleanup is their reason.
Okay.
And they said if we accepted that 5,000, they would sign another 3 to 5 year contract without a price increase.
When did we sign that first contract? A number of years ago?
I believe it was probably 5 years ago.
So there would be, we'd be locking in that price for.
Another 5
extended
years.
We accepted that increase.
Yes. Their proposal, I don't have this, but the proposal is April 1 to April 1 of 2020.
25.
Would be the year and then.
Because they're not in the winter. 5 instead of 30. It's more, okay.
Okay. To land, library had out and anybody to library, yeah, library of the do what it normally does.
I like that. I get it.
For so the total 1,500.
So price adjustment for the existing work, adding on 5,000
Yes.
for the annual upkeep of the library,
And
which
so-
includes all the new plantings with the amphitheater.
Yes, and supposedly this was already built into the highway budget when Wayne presents it to us, is what I'm being told.
Spooky.
Okay. So in the draft budget.
At least a 5,000 library, not the 5,000 contract increase.
Adjustment. Okay.
And you said they're willing to go as far as 5 years?
To 2029.
Okay.
I feel like I saw an email about something about this.
You feel like what?
Hold on.
This was them approaching us that then got redirected to Andy, I believe,
Yes.
and he
I-
had these conversations with him.
I feel like Kip also sent me something about this, but not about this.
Okay. Andy, what's your feeling about this?
I think it's pretty reasonable that we haven't seen a price increase in a while. They're taking on extra work. And the guarantee for 5 years. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing's going to get any cheaper in the next 5 years.
No.
The guarantee for 5 years is a big selling point for me.
And it's nice to hear that everybody's been happy with their work
Yes.
over time.
And what are they doing for the $5,000 at the library? Is it
The library, they would do mowing, fall cleanup. Same for the rest of they do,
Take care of the rec.
they take recreation fields.
Okay.
They take care of the areas, angles, town properties.
Pause on that, just because I did. I'm talking. Kip had sent me, John, Andy, not that other Andy, and Alan.
For the,
I don't know.
Well, this is to the highway department budget, so
Oh,
we
okay.
really don't.
advance warrant.
Yeah.
Okay.
In favor of doing that.
Going out.
Right.
If we're good with
Be happy with the services.
willing to lock.
Never.
Okay. You a vote just an FYI.
I the vote of
will-
they will put a we make sure it's highway budget. when we-
Gotcha. Anybody interested?
Move.
Discussion? All in favor? I'm an aye. Contract 5-year law.
Can we talk contracts? We probably have to loop. Letty also, Casella.
Yes.
Our contract expired in 35 days or whatever.
Okay.
December 31st. Casella were talks about a new contract. With that new contract, they would pick up.
Truck apparently.
Finding where they've moved to track. So towns have to do is whoever picks up, I'll hit them carts. Cart. And
Oh.
carts cost of
Okay.
trash cart hold 8 bags of trash. Should a home
Boys?
residents- or the, it would be something
The homeowner would have to.
to approach it at half cellar.
Is this like what I mean, like?
Yes.
Okay.
So Casella does Stratham and Kensington and converted them to
Okay.
Fremont uses waste management, weighted, grabs the bin, dumps it in.
Okay.
The other problem with automated pickup is we could no longer do weekly bulky good items. Because the automated truck doesn't have the ability to do it. He said the towns that they've transitioned to automated, they've done 2 to 3 bulky good pickups a year.
So it would be like an extra,
Yes. Or they run the Raymond Recycling Facility. Anybody that has the ability can bring their stuff to Raymond at 10 cents a pound, which at our current rate of a $5 tag, you could do a 50-pound item for what you charge for a $5 tag. But anyways, we would have to do our bulky goods once or twice a year. It would be a separate fee hourly of however long it takes them to go around town and pick up bulky goods. So basically, when we sold stickers, we would have to create a list of who the residents are. They would put it through their mapping program, figure out the most economical route, and go out and do it.
Andy, do you know the draft budget that we saw earlier? Do you believe that that included this new Casella contract or potentially not?
Not, because there is no contract on the table.
Okay.
If I give him the go-ahead, and they're looking to do either a 3 or 5 year contract, they would put something together and send it to us. I believe that contract might have just used the escalator that we've been using from year to year.
Gotcha.
Does it make any sense for us to try to get contract from Waste Management and Casella, because Waste Management already does this in Fremont?
I think it would be insane to try to think you could do something in
30 days.
by December 31st.
Well, it's 2 months.
are you volunteering to do that, Mr. Morgan? You take that responsibility on?
No.
Okay, then stop talking.
I think we might just have to bite the bullet, and, I mean, Casella's been relatively free of problems, and if there is a problem, they've been good to react to it, as far as I know. But I think we should agendaize this item.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big change for
Could we
all the
do
public.
a 1-year contract?
Sure, we could. I'm sure it'll cost us more money.
Could we do 2-year contract? I mean, I think because it's new, because we're not.
But once you get the carts, like you've got them. You know, you might as well lock in the best rate you can,
I guess so.
right?
So is this required because they're moving over to this? Is that like? there's
Yeah, is
no-
this optional or?
The way he presented it, it is optional, but I think you're gonna see a huge price difference between if we do a manual pickup as opposed to you may get that I don't wanna do it price, and then now we're looking for a trash supplier in the 9th hour.
So your thought is these draft budgets we see here that have like an 18% increase for rubbish collection probably was assuming the manual.
Yep,
Okay,
probably an escalator, and
okay.
Can we see both options and what they are?
sure we can.
Okay.
And I'm sure I can have a presentation of what an automated trash pickup looks like, and
Sure.
something.
An abbreviated presentation?
Sure.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think that should definitely be a future agenda item so that any
Or we could
interested.
just trash it, one of the two.
Good one.
Looks like, who did you talk to over there? Did you talk to Brian?
Brian, yes.
Looks like he had been in talks.
There'd been conversations
Yeah, there'd
happening
been multiple
behind the scenes.
conversations about getting a contract together, so.
Okay.
You should have something that you can get.
Well, yes, but we should add something too.
Yeah, we just hadn't heard about it yet.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, so.
Yeah, I'm sure he can put something together for us.
I think he already has, I guess is what I'm saying. Based on what I'm seeing.
So are you thinking agenda in 2 weeks for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, and my understanding from the way you're describing it is that the initial cost of all the carts would be borne basically by the taxpayers through the town budget, because it would be baked into their rate. So the taxpayers wouldn't be paying directly for the carts, it would be indirectly through the contract through us.
Correct.
Okay.
And we didn't get into how you do a replacement card if one gets run over.
Sure. I'm sure that's,
Or if somebody wants
part
an
of it.
extra one.
Well, the other thing is it's kind of managing the amount of stuff that people can dispose of it
right.
every week.
Are you saying that John has to cut back on his seltzers?
I think it's mostly focused at someone like Doug.
The recycling carts is as big as the trash cart, so if you.
Nice. Okay. All right, so we'll put that on the agenda for weeks. And just looking through our discussion action items, we've completed all of those. We'll move on to regular business. A couple of things for regular business that we have here. Let me just look through. Letty, do you want to discuss the tax collector's warrant? And I don't know if we have an additional form we need to sign for DRA or just that?
Just that.
Just that, okay. Do you want to introduce it or do you want me to?
You
Why don't
have it
you?
in front of you.
Okay,
I can
so
I
I
can
will.
say what it is.
So as you guys know, we set the tax rate at our last meeting. DRA then accepted that rate and made some small little rounding changes. And so that document has been finalized. What we need to do is there's some paperwork that we need to submit to DRA, and we also need to officially communicate to Daphne as our tax collector what amount of taxes DRA has advised us that we need to raise. So we sign this every time we do taxes. We signed one last in the spring. So it's called the tax collector's warrant. And essentially we are just advising Daphne that in the name of the state of New Hampshire, she is advised to collect taxes in the amount of $10,037,463. That is the remaining balance based on the tax rate that we set that was not collected in the summer taxes. And Daphne has set the due date for these taxes as December 9th. She's anticipating sending these tax bills out in the next 24 hours or so. And this is just us acknowledging today that we are accepting that tax rate and that we are going to communicate that to Daphne. Did I say that correctly? Okay. So if anyone wants to review this, but these numbers came basically directly from the DRA based on the tax rate that we set. Questions about that?
I move we sign the tax warrant.
Like it? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments before voting? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. And thank you once again to Letty for being our go-between with DRA and being phenomenally helpful in helping us get that tax rate set.
It's not done yet.
Well,
That still
we're-
has to go back, but we're getting so close.
we're close. And I did email our assessor. Let me just see if he emailed me back, just to make sure. Not yet, but we will check to make sure that we have everything finalized on his side before we run those tax bills. All right, other regular business, we have 2 appointment slips here for Leslie Kleinman. So I don't know if you're going to abstain from that. And Kelly Widener to serve as inspectors of election. And that, just like all the other ones that we signed, goes through August 1st, 2026. I'll take a motion to approve both of those.
Moved.
Second.
Oh, competition. All in favor?
Aye.
Paul, do you want to abstain from your wife's? But,
She's gonna give me grief though.
well, I mean, you can, it's not really a conflict of interest. It's okay to have your wife. I mean, she's being a neutral inspector of election if you want.
Fantastic.
Okay,
Okay.
good. So if you're going to vote aye, I will vote aye as well. So we will sign both of these. It's really not conflictual. You'll be stuck at the polls. Now she'll be stuck at the polls too. There you go. And once again, thank you to all of our inspectors who help us out with the election. Julian, do you know of any other regular board business that we need to sign? I think we've been kind of talking about it behind the scenes. Okay, I think we're okay for tonight. We will now move over to regular committee updates or board business, and we'll start with Andy.
Meet the candidates night tomorrow at the library, 7 to 9. I will videotape it and on Thursday upload it.
Send that email right now.
And that's all I have.
Okay, great. Sean?
Nothing.
Paul?
All set.
Letty?
There was a building committee meeting today. The committee discussed next steps, given that number that we were all surprised by.
Yes.
A couple other companies were contacted just to see if that number felt reasonable to them, and they were shocked by it. So, the committee decided that our best bet is to not put the full project on the warrant in this March
Okay.
of 25, and instead ask for a smaller amount of money to get some actual architectural plans made up of what the building will look like, so that we can then send it out for RFP, and the builders will know what we're asking for. We're hoping when we do that to be able to have a cost estimate for what it would cost to have the PD and the town hall together, what it would cost to have them in 2 separate buildings, and hopefully what it would cost to build a new PD and renovate this building
Okay.
for comparison purposes.
And there already is a capital reserve fund. Is the thought that it needs to be supplemented a bit for this?
It does.
Okay.
I think the intent was to start now with what there is, and it would just not be enough to get, I think they called them 30% plans, which is like the beginning parts, I
Sure.
guess. And I think we're also looking for people to join us on that committee if anyone's interested.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Okay. Sounds good. Updates from my perspective, we did have a BudCom meeting last night. And at that meeting, as I advised Joe Bird, we did briefly discuss with the board the idea that there would be some changes coming from the fire side of things. So that update will be happening. Jack Mitchell wanted me to advise this board that on November 11th, we're doing a site walk at Historical Society. That's open to the public. And if anyone from the select board wants to join, in addition to myself, you are welcome to meet us there. We are just going to meet a little bit earlier at 5 o'clock on that day. That is Veterans Day, and it will be after daylight savings. So we're meeting a little bit earlier to take advantage of it not being absolutely pitch black. So that will be on November 11th. That's an additional meeting that was not on the original BudCom schedule. We got some updates from Brian about the SAU budget and the solar panel and all of those updates. And then the BudCom did vote to pass all budgets that were in front of it last night, which was conservation, welfare, cemetery, IS, and the budget committee budget itself. So those 5 budgets were all passed. So far, BudCom has passed all budgets that we have sent its way so far. And we do have that November 11th meeting, and then we have a regularly scheduled meeting, I think the week after that, which is the next regular BudCom meeting. I think that's, let me just look at my schedule. Yes, November 18th, we will have a meeting, and then also November 25th. So we have a meeting, we have, I think 3 weeks in a row, November 18th, November 25th, December 9th. We will have meetings to go over quite a few budgets at those meetings. So far, so good with BudCom. And I think that was all I have. Anybody have any other board business?
I have one more.
Yes.
So with the notice last week that our treasurer is retiring.
Yes.
If you or anybody that you know has some financial, banking, or accounting background, please go to our website under Town Administration is the duties and responsibilities of the town treasurer. Please look at it. If you think you may qualify, drop us an email at selectboard@brentwoodnh.gov.
Do you want me to post that description as a job posting?
I'm gonna put something together and I'll
Okay.
send it to you and Jen, and you can okay it, and then
Great.
if it's good, we can add it to the website. I'll send it to NHMA to put on their website, and
Probably, it is a paid position.
It's a
Yes.
salaried part-time position. And I think also it might be worth noting that if somebody is not interested necessarily in being the full treasurer, If somebody would be willing to be a deputy treasurer, that's essentially just a fill-in person that fills in when our treasurer is not present. So it's a very, very, very part-time role that is paid actually out of the same salary line as the treasurer. And so if anybody out there thinks they might be interested in helping us but doesn't want to be the full treasurer, you could potentially put yourself up for deputy treasurer and help us fill in until we have a full treasurer. So we have a couple options there for people who might want to help.
Part-time meaning like how many hours?
I think Joyce works like 1-ish days, 1 to 2 days a week.
I think she just works
Um,
Tuesdays.
I think
Half
during
the week.
the audit season, there's a little bit more requirements. I think, is that right, Jillian? About 1 day a week approximately. And then the deputy really has no set hours. It's just a full coverage. It's a backfilling position.
Or if it's a busy time, they would come to help me.
Right, if they needed some additional help.
Do we know what the salary is?
I think we get to pick it.
Not off the top of my head, although I could probably pull it up if you wanted what last year's was.
No, we can.
It's a very part-time
Yeah.
position. So great for somebody who is maybe just looking for a small way to help and or is nearing retirement or interested in helping us just 1 day a week. Anything else on that?
Nope.
Okay. Any other board business?
Not for public.
It does
No,
not have to be a
It does
resident.
not, because it's an appointed position.
Last meeting, we had talked it may be a resident, but because it's now appointed, it's that residential is off the table.
Years ago, it was an elected position, so it had to be a resident. Now it's appointed. And in fact, our current treasurer does not live in town anymore. All right. Any other board business?
Not for public.
My understanding, Letty, is you have legal for not for public. So that's going to be under RSA 91AL and any other personnel. Okay, I'll take a motion to go into non-public.
Moved.
And that requires a roll call vote.
Doug.
Andy?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Letty?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So we will, do we need to take a brief recess?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Let's take a brief recess and then we will convene non-public.